Aita for refusing to let my future brother-in-law borrow my grandfather's vintage watch for his wedding, even though it's said to bring good luck. I, 30M, am engaged to Sarah, 29F, and our wedding is in 10 months. I have my grandfather's vintage watch, which he wore on his own wedding day. It's a family tradition that the firstborn son wears it on his wedding day for good luck. Since my dad passed away when I was young, the watch came to me, and I've always planned to wear it when I get married. My future brother-in-law, Ben, 28M, is Sarah's younger brother, and he's getting married in 4 months. He knows about the watch and its significance. Recently, he asked if he could borrow it for his wedding, arguing that since his wedding is first, he should be the one to have the good luck. I told him no, because I want to honor the family tradition and wear it myself. Ben was upset and told Sarah that I'm being selfish. Sarah is caught in the middle. She understands my attachment to the watch but also feels for her brother. Now, her parents are saying I should let Ben wear it first, as it's just a watch and traditions can be flexible. I really value this tradition and the memory of my grandfather. Am I being unreasonable by refusing to let Ben borrow the watch? Comments. Commenter 1. Not Ben's family. Not Ben's watch. Not Ben's luck. You have a fiancé problem. She is only caught in the middle because she is not making the very reasonable and simple statement to her own family that they are out of line, and this is a hard no. Commenter 2. Can't say it any better than this. Ben has some serious audacity. Commenter 3. I hope that watch is in a safe place. With Ben's entitled attitude, the backing of his parents and Sarah's lack of a spine, WTF is this feels for her brother and caught in the middle shit, I wouldn't be the least surprised if it disappears. Commenter 4. Ask them, if it's just a watch, why is it so important to Ben to wear it? You're NTA and you have many years of fighting you in-laws ahead of you. I'm also a little worried that Sarah isn't 100% on your side. Reply, thanks for the support and the great point. You're right, if it's just a watch to Ben, why is he so set on wearing it? I'm definitely going to ask him that. I'm also a bit concerned Sarah isn't fully backing me, so I'm planning to talk to her soon to make sure she's on my side and we set clear boundaries with her family. Appreciate the heads up about future in-law issues. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for the comments on my post, they really got me thinking. I talked to Sarah last night after work about Ben wanting my grandfather's watch and it turned into a massive fight. We figured things out eventually, but it was a rough one. Here's what happened. I started by telling Sarah there's no way Ben's getting the watch. It's my grandfather's, worn on his wedding day, and the tradition is that the firstborn son wears it for good luck. Since my dad passed away when I was young, it's mine, and I've always planned to wear it at our wedding in 10 months. I hit her with what some of you suggested, if it's just a watch to Ben, why is he so desperate to wear it for his wedding in 4 months? She got heated, saying Ben's freaking out about his wedding and thinks the good luck will make it perfect. I called that straight up entitled, Ben's got no claim to my family's heirloom, and I'm not handing it over. Then I went in on her for not having my back, like a lot of you pointed out. I said she's only caught in the middle because she won't tell Ben and her parents to back off. Sarah lost it, shouting that I'm forcing her to pick sides and her parents are blowing up her phone, saying I'm being a jerk for clinging to a relic. That set me off. I yelled that it's not a relic, it's all I have left of my dad and grandfather, and if she can't see that, maybe she doesn't care about me. She snapped back that I'm fixated on a stupid tradition and making her family feel like garbage. I told her if we're getting married, she needs to act like my fiancé, not Ben's defender. It got nastier. I said I will lock the watch in a safe because I don't trust her family not to misplace it, and she flipped, screaming that I'm calling them thieves. I shouted that I wouldn't have to if she just shut this down from the start. She started crying, saying I'm making her feel like a horrible fiancé, and I wasn't calm. I snapped that she's letting me down by siding with Ben. She grabbed her bag, said she's done with me for now, and stormed out to her friend's place. I was furious, thinking this might be more than just the watch. Late last night, Sarah called, still upset but calmer. She said she doesn't want this to ruin us. I admitted I got too worked up, but I stood by needing her support. She broke down, saying she gets how much the watch means and feels awful for calling it a relic. She promised to tell Ben and her parents it's a hard no, and we'll face them together this weekend. She's coming home today, and we agreed to work on talking without blowing up, especially with her family causing trouble. To keep things cool, we're considering getting Ben a nice watch as a wedding gift, so he's got something without touching mine. Comments. Commenter 1. I'd still hide that watch. She still doesn't get it. Reply, it's going in the bank safe. Commenter 2. Is this someone you want to marry? There is literally no reason for Ben to wear the watch. Even if it wasn't significant, he doesn't have the right to borrow anything of yours. She started crying, saying I'm making her feel like a horrible fiancé. Man, there's a reason for that. Commenter 3. And it isn't just Ben feeling entitled to the watch. It is his parents going into full attack mode to make OP hand over the watch to Ben. These are the in-laws he is choosing. OP, I think you need to put off your wedding for at least a year to make sure your fiancé understands that her parents and brother will destroy your relationship if allowed. I wouldn't buy her brother a watch. That will just teach him to demand things until you cave and buy him something equivalent. Do not ever reward entitled greed. Never. You will regret starting that type of expectation. What if he wants your car? Will you help him buy his own? What if your house is nicer? Will you help him buy a more expensive one? You and your fiancé need some serious counseling about protecting your relationship from your families or origin. Which will mostly be about her needing to set boundaries with her family. She should be the one shutting down both her brother and her parents. I would absolutely not buy him a watch. That would just reward the greedy entitlement. Commenter 4. So she went to her friend for support. Her friend told her she's a fucking idiot and now she's trying to save face. Commenter 5. Do not get married until you two go to counseling and work on how to fight. This marriage is not going to be happy or successful. Neither of you know how to fight. Reply, I will take this suggestion. Update. Wedding gift, for brother-in-law, Reverso or Tank. I plan to get my brother-in-law a wedding gift for his wedding in a few months. Was thinking either the JLC Reverso or the Cartier Tank. What do you guys think? I never really wear dress watches so don't know much about the wearing experience of either. Or do you suggest something else? Comments. Commenter 1. Came here from your AITA. Do not get that spoiled son of a bitch a watch. Hand him money in a card and move on. As someone with a similar BIL, these things actually enable the behavior and you'll regret it, like me, in the long run. It's placating his behavior. Say no, stick to your boundaries and move on. Please, there's so much I'd do differently. Commenter 2. Neither, he doesn't deserve any. Commenter 3. After all the drama and distress he's caused you, I wouldn't buy him either watch. I'm sorry, but capitulating to his demands, even in this small way, is not the way to go. You're setting a bad precedent for future behavior. Stories number 2. AITA for not allowing my partner to be at the birth of our child. Hi, all this is really fresh and I am currently still very emotional from it all. Please forgive me if it seems like I am rambling. I'm also excluding the majority of the background because I don't want to distress myself further. I am due to give birth to my second child any day now. I'm a little worried that all my emotions from today may send me into labor. Not ideal. My partner, I use the word loosely because I'm not really sure if I want him to be that, has a narcissistic, abusive mother. She is a vile woman. She tormented me during my first pregnancy and postpartum. My partner cut her off then, and for the most part, I had peace. She has slowly been worming her way back into our lives. I never hated her until she made me feel like I was less than a human. My partner is overly defensive about her, partially because he is in denial about the emotional abuse and neglect he experienced growing up. She is the cause of a lot of our disagreements. I just found out that my partner has been deliberately withholding information from me. One of the major factors that lead to me resenting his mother was the fact that she turned up at the hospital after I had given birth. She made her way to my ward and into my room, knowing it was against my wishes to have any visitors. She had argued with me about it for months. It turns out he knew she was coming. He knew and didn't say anything. He told me less than an hour ago. I am so hurt by him. I feel betrayed. My family were incredibly angry with me because they thought I prioritized my in-laws over them. They had been told I did not want visitors and were happy to respect my wishes. I don't blame them for feeling slighted. He prioritized his mother over my wishes. Over my needs. He let my family blame me and said nothing for over 2 years, knowing he could have prevented it. I have told him he cannot come to the birth of our second and that my firstborn and I will be leaving once I can pack the things up. She told me that she did not care about my wishes. She told me how her happiness mattered more than mine. She told me that my stance was ridiculous and that she needs to be there to meet her baby. She told me that wanting space to adjust was unnecessary. She told me that I was being delusional to think I could keep her away. He knew about all of this. He knew and he still gave her what she wanted. He knew about this and lied to me. I cannot trust him to be at the hospital with me. I do not want to see his face as I am having my surgery. I do not have anyone else, but I'd rather be alone than be with him. Does this make me TA? I feel awful for even wanting to do this. This has devastated me. All the stuff she said was when I was pregnant with my first. I had antenatal anxiety and she used this against me. She would trigger attacks and then call me mental in order to get her to side with him. He was not sure what to believe and cut her off because he did not think I was lying. She works at the hospital where I had my baby, doctor. I did tell the staff about the no visitors rule, but she can bypass it with her access card. I'm not sure if he kept quiet to avoid a scene in front of colleagues. He also works there. The fact they argued made me think he didn't know and she did it because he went LC. I cannot change hospitals because I am high risk and under the care of specific doctors. My plan has been created, and I have to stay put. ETA 2. For those requesting I report her for accessing my records, it has already been reported and is being investigated. In terms of reporting her accessing my room, I will speak with the hospital in the morning. Update. Aita for not allowing my partner to be at the birth of our child. Firstly, I contacted the hospital about my upcoming admission. I was redirected to a safeguarding line and explained the situation. They have confirmed my file is still showing as locked and have taken her details in order to ensure she is prevented access to me. I'm not sure if this will guarantee she stays away, but if she doesn't, I will not be accountable or to blame for the consequences of her actions. Secondly, I did contact the hospital about the previous incident. They are being shifty to say the least. They do not want to take the complaint because I should have contacted them there and then, which I have already explained. It was then that they did not want to take it because a member of staff was involved and that wasn't what they deal with. I have been sure to get their refusal in writing. I was passed around to various other departments. One has agreed to look into the previous incident if she violates my request a second time. Thirdly, I have spoken to my lawyers about quite a few things. I have sent everything to my lawyer. I cannot disclose them on here, but now everything is being set in motion. Finally, this is the update that will get a lot of backlash from most of you. My MIL has my hospital date. She sent a message stating that she found it out from someone she works with. They were named in the message. I'm not entirely sure why that person had it to begin with. There was also a mention of how she will already be working on that day. You can pretty much guess where this is going. I cannot do anything about it this weekend, but I will be contacting the hospital and my lawyers on Monday. I'm not sure if I missed anything. My brain is sleep deprived right now. I'll add it if I am reminded or suddenly remember. ETA, covering some repeated mentions again. I'm British. Some stuff you all are saying applies, some does not. I appreciate it, but my lawyers are on top of everything and I have been sending the necessary documents, etc. Hospital change is not an option. As per the previous posts, this is the best hospital for me to be at. If anything were to happen, I would be transferred back there either way. Hospitals here are in trusts. She can access both that offer maternity services, and the others are too far for me to get to. To be strictly clear, my partner did not tell her my date. I know I wrote it above, but some comments are still suggesting it was him. It was definitely not. She sent the name of the person in the messages she wrote to him. This person is from her department. I cannot remember her exact job role but I know she is in a senior position. ETA 2, I knew I forgot something. My aunt is trying to swap her shifts at work to be with me. My issue is that I do not really want anyone with me during the actual surgery. The only person I would want there is my partner. Right now, still a massive NO from me, and he is respecting that. My mother would faint. She couldn't even look at the pictures of my firstborn if he had not yet been cleaned up. Post-surgery, I won't be able to walk and will be a sitting duck. This is when my MIL is most likely to make her appearance. I hope she has sense enough to stay away this time, but I am a realist. She will try to come no matter what. I am mostly concerned about not having anyone around because I know I will want to shower at some point, but I won't be able to if my baby is not supervised. I will have 2 private nurses, but I know they are not people I can realistically trust to confront my MIL if I am not present. Some have suggested doulas. I started to look into it yesterday and will continue to research before the weekend is over. I am really disheartened about having to compromise on my boundary. My child is more important to me, and for their sake I will do what I have to. Update 2. Aita for not allowing my partner to be at the birth of our child. I made a decision in relation to the hospital and my family. Before I get into that, I do want to say that this was never something taken lightly. I would never want to deprive my partner of the opportunity to be there when our children are born. It is a once-in-a-lifetime event, no matter how many children you have. You can only be there for that child once. The reason it was considered is because I cannot have someone who treated me, and has since treated me, the way my MIL does around me. Nor would I be willing to have someone who enabled her in getting her way, by my side, especially when what I need is someone I can trust. I was still going to allow him to sign the birth certificate after the fact. He is their dad and they are not a pawn. Custody is a whole other matter, but as I would recommend to most people, always look into it even if you have no intention of separating. It will give you clarity on your position. We already have a pre-existing agreement that we both are happy to abide by. Now for the decision. I am allowing him to be present. However, my aunt will also be there in the event he proves incapable of dealing with my MIL. She will not hesitate to advocate for us all, and she will defend my partner if my MIL tries to get to him. He has shown me his commitment to our family over the past couple of years. He was willing to miss the birth because he understood how much his actions have impacted me. He has also said he will look into therapy for his personal development. He has given me space to come to this decision on my own. I feel it is the best one for our family. I did speak to him about the previous incident yesterday afternoon. My aunt was right about him not being entirely to blame. A lot of it comes down to timings, circumstances, what I witnessed, and what he has told me. He had seen a message from her to say she was on her way to my room and not replied because he was helping me. He did not see the second message where she essentially told him that neither of us was going to prevent her from having her way until after she had already left. It was a case of him knowing, not agreeing that she could come. The fact he did not speak up when he realized she was in the room and she had picked up our baby was another fault he has accepted. However, he did leave to confront her after a nurse arrived to take over. With this, I would be a complete monster to keep him away. He is and will continue to be my partner. I never blamed him for my MIL's actions. She deserves to, and will be held accountable for herself. Yes, he lied to me by keeping quiet. Yes, he deceived my family by not correcting them and letting me take the blame. He has said he will speak to them and accept the consequences of his actions. My MIL decided to contact me directly yesterday evening. I did have her blocked for calls and texts. It seems I forgot about an app. It has been rectified. Safe to say I have a lot to update my lawyers with. My partner is aware of what I am doing and fully supports it. If you're disappointed in my choice, that is fine. I am the one that will have to live with it. Also, if this makes little sense, please forgive me. I am quite drained. Stories number 3. Entitled neighbor demands I stop using my own Wi-Fi because it's distracting her plants. I live in a townhouse complex with paper-thin walls and a whole bunch of colorful personalities. One of them is my neighbor, a woman in her late 50s who wears tie-dye every day, insists she has a telepathic connection with crystals, and once told me my aura was too digital. I'm usually sitting out front on my phone with my computer relaxing. I suppose that's why she feels I'm too digital, but her latest stunt truly took the cake. Last week she knocked on my door holding a small potted plant in one hand and a printout of what looked like a hand-drawn diagram of a Wi-Fi signal in the other. She told me we needed to talk about my router. I was confused. She then explained that my Wi-Fi was disrupting the vibrational energy of her succulents. She pointed to the drawing, which honestly looked like a sad jellyfish, and said the signal beamed directly through our shared wall and bombarded her plants non-stop. According to her, the plants were spiritually wilting because they thought the Wi-Fi was sunlight, but it wasn't. The best part? Her plants were in a dark hallway with no natural light. She claimed they had been fine until I got a new modem and then gave me 2 options, either turn off my Wi-Fi every night between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., apparently the plant rest hours, or let her share my Wi-Fi and move the router into her unit so she could regulate the signal properly. I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She stormed off as I was laughing at her. I'm still currently waiting to see what comes out of this. Stories number 4. My best friend, 25F, thinks I, 25F, ruined a relationship and now she won't talk to me. After high school I moved out of state for college. I always kept in touch with my best friend Anna and we kept each other informed about guys we were seeing and all that stuff. After college, about 6 months ago, I moved back to my home state but an hour away from my hometown. About a month ago I decided, since I was settled finally, to start getting back into the dating game so I joined Tinder. Instantly I met this really awesome guy named John. It turns out that John was up in my part of the state for work but that he actually lives in my hometown. I started to realize that he looked familiar and asked if we went to elementary school together or if he attended my church as a kid. He said he just moved to the state a couple years ago and I chalked it up as him having one of those faces. We started chatting and hit it off pretty quickly. I told him I wasn't big into social media and he said he wasn't either, so we exchanged numbers and started texting to communicate. Even though he lived an hour away, he commutes to my town a lot for work, and since neither of us were looking for anything serious we figured this was a pretty awesome setup. After a while our conversations turned a bit sexual with some sexy pics being sent from his side and comments about hooking up when he came back. We set up a date to have lunch and meet when he got back. During this time I had told Anna all about him, and when I finally told her we were going to meet up she asked for a picture. I sent her one, not one of the sexy ones, obviously, and was surprised to find out that she had dated him for a short time, couple of weeks, a few years back. I asked if she was okay with me seeing him and she said she didn't care but that she was positive he had a girlfriend. She sent me his full name so I could find him on Facebook, and sure enough he was in a relationship. I was pissed. I instantly sent him a message confronting him. He apologized and profusely and said it was a mistake to talk to me on Tinder. I told him he should be apologizing to his girlfriend, which he begged me not to tell. I told him to fuck off and blocked his number. After that I screenshot all the messages we had sent, including him admitting to his guilt, and sent his girlfriend a Facebook message. I told her I felt awful for having even a small role in his potential infidelity and that I thought she should know. I haven't gotten a message back and I don't think I will. But I felt what I did was the right thing to do. Fast forward to a couple days ago when I came back home and went out for lunch with Anna. She asked me what ended up happening with John and I told her. She instantly got furious and started saying stuff like I had no business interfering with another person's relationship and how could I destroy a relationship I wasn't part of. I got really defensive and told her that he made me part of their relationship when he tried to cheat on his girlfriend with me. She told me I was disgusting and an awful person for what I did and that I had no business messaging John's girlfriend, then paid and left. She hasn't talked to me since. I feel like I did the right thing, but the way Anna reacted and how she refuses to talk to me anymore is making me question everything. Was I right to get involved and message his girlfriend? How can I get Anna to talk to me again? TLDR, met a guy on Tinder, turns out he had a girlfriend, messaged his girlfriend with screenshots and told her, best friend thinks I shouldn't have meddled and that I'm awful for doing so and won't talk to me. Did I do the right thing? How do I get my best friend to talk to me again? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is it possible that she knows the girlfriend, and she's afraid that she's gonna get dragged into it? Maybe he was in the same relationship when he and Anna dated, and she's afraid of being found out. Or maybe she knew about his infidelity and didn't say anything, and she thinks the girlfriend is going to be pissed when she finds out. I don't know, but it's pretty clear there's some backstory here, and I bet it's the non-romantic relationship between Anna and the girlfriend. Reply. That's a good shout. I never thought she could have a relationship with the girlfriend. I remember her vaguely talking about John and seeing his pictures, which is why he looked so familiar, but I don't ever remember hearing more about him. I know she's adamantly against cheating, so it'd be really surprising if she was hooking up with him while he was with his girlfriend. Commenter 2. You did the right thing. Has Anna been involved with a guy in a relationship before? Could it be that she doesn't have the same set of moral values that you do? Reply. No. She hates cheaters, which is why I was so surprised by her answer. But she just kept saying that it was none of my business if her boyfriend decided to cheat. Commenter 3. Like you said, he made it your business. I still believe you did the right thing. No clue about how to get Anna to see your point of view though, her reaction is really odd. Maybe ask her if she had been in the GF's shoes, wouldn't she want to know her man is cheating on her? Reply. I tried asking her that and she just kept saying that it would be their business and that it's not anyone else's business to meddle in their relationship. I'm just so baffled by it because I know she hates cheaters. Commenter 4. So if Anna ever had a BF you discovered was cheating on her, she wouldn't want you to tell her? Reply. That's going to be my question to her. Or even worse, if Anna knew my boyfriend was cheating on me, would she not tell me? Update. I didn't think I would need to update, especially after hearing nothing from John's girlfriend after the first couple of days, but here I am. First off, thanks for the comments and PMs. I know I did the right thing and I was confused by Anna's reaction. But the support that poured in helped so much. Thank you. Now, Anna still wasn't talking to me when my trip home came to an end, so I just drove back to my city and went on about my life. She ended up calling me middle of last week and said she wanted to talk about what happened. She still believed that what I did was fucked up and she didn't approve. I asked her if she would ever tell me if she found out a future boyfriend of mine was cheating on me, and she said of course. But that's because I know you. I told her I didn't see the friendship stranger status as an excuse to let a guy be shitty to his girlfriend. After a while of back and forth with the same arguments, I told her that we can agree to disagree and leave it at that. She said okay and we hung up. After we hung up I decided to check my Facebook and lo and behold there was a message from John's girlfriend in my inbox from 2 days before. I was kind of nervous to read it, but it just said, "Are you in right now?" I replied that I wasn't, and an hour later I got another message asking if I could call her and her number. I was super nervous because I had no idea what I was going to be walking into, but I figured if it got too bad I could hang up and block her number. I called her and it was a very awkward greeting, and then she asked me to tell her everything that happened. I obliged and told her exactly what happened. I could tell she was crying on the other end, which broke my heart, and I started apologizing, but she told me not to. She was grateful that I told her. Apparently John and her have been together for close to 4 years and he cheated on her a lot during the first year of being together until she found out. He promised he'd never do it again and she took him back. She said she was always really paranoid he would cheat again, but he never showed signs or anything out of the ordinary. I apologized for being the spotlight on what an ass he was. We kind of got to chatting for a while after that, and after a while she switched from the depression to the anger stage and I let her vent. At the end of it all she said she was finally going to leave him, which I agreed with, and then said that if I'm ever back in town that she'd like to buy me a coffee. Which I thought was a nice gesture and I might take her up on the offer. After the phone call I was really relieved and happy about how things turned out. I went to go text Anna to tell her, but then I remembered that John's girlfriend said they were dating for 4 years. So I texted Anna and asked her when she dated John. It was 2 years ago. She must have known that he was dating another girl, and that's why she was so fucking pissed. So a lot of you guessed right that she was his mistress for a while. I'm not going to tell John's girlfriend since she's done with him, hopefully, and doesn't need any more heartache. But I'm definitely going to cut Anna out of my life. And when she asks why, I'll just tell her that I know about her and John. All in all, it turned out okay for pretty much everyone involved except for John. Which is good because fuck that dude. TLDR, lost a best friend but gained a possible new friend in John's ex. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Well, before cutting your friend out completely, you can respond to her text with, I just spoke with John's girlfriend. Did you know that he was in a relationship while you guys were together? How Anna responds to this would be incredibly telling. Though, if you're able, it would be best to ask this in person to see her physical reaction, not give her time to BS. And maybe for good measure let your friend know how grateful the girlfriend was and that you and her are going to grab coffee whenever you're next in town. It was really great what you did. I hope Anna can eventually see that, and if not, well, then yeah. Cut her out. Reply. I said this in another comment, but I'm not so much pissed at her stance on the subject as I am the way she treated me. She said and called me some pretty awful things and then ignored my attempts to talk to her about it for the better part of a week. No apologizes for the names she called me or the things she said when she did finally talk to me. She just started the argument all over again. I've done and said some pretty shitty things to her in the past, but I always apologized for being out of line or taking my anger out on her. But there was no apology, and I just felt like what she did isn't what best friends are supposed to do. So, for now, I'm keeping her at a distance. Stories number 5. Aita for dropping our baby off on my ex-husband and demanding he take the baby every other week even though he wants to be an every other weekend dad. This is so messy. My ex-husband 29M, and I 28F, originally agreed not to have any children. We live in Texas and this world just isn't a place I wanted to bring a child into. I also never wanted to be a mother. My IUD failed and I got pregnant. I was devastated because I wouldn't be able to get an abortion since we live in Texas. I wanted to travel out of state to get an abortion, and I wanted him to get a vasectomy since I didn't want to risk this happening again. He refused both. He said he wouldn't take me out of state to get an abortion, and he made me very scared of criminal charges. He also refused a vasectomy to prevent more children, since he didn't want to mutilate himself. Long story short, I filed for divorce a month after the baby was born. It took a little over 2 months for the divorce to be finalized, which was a month ago. Baby is now 4 months old, and the maternity leave that I was lucky enough to have is up. Ex-husband has moved into his own apartment. I live alone in my home that I owned prior to marriage that I inherited from my grandparents. Ex-husband has been visiting the baby here and there on weekends, but hasn't had the baby overnight ever. I've suggested it but he refused. To be honest, I don't really like being a mother. The baby and I just haven't bonded much. I've heard that sometimes it takes a while. I've been overwhelmed and I needed a break. I tried calling him and talking to him about agreeing to a custody situation. He blew me off and said he'll let me know when he finds a weekend that works for him. I was really pissed. I had this baby because of him largely, or I would have gotten an abortion. I love my baby but I don't want to be a full-time mom, I want 50-50. I work from home as a software developer. I'm lucky enough to be able to watch the baby while I work so I don't have to pay for daycare. But I need time to be productive with my work. So I figure 1 week I can be unproductive while watching my child, and the next week I can work extra hard to make up for it. My job is flexible so it'll work for me. My ex was dodging my calls, so I took our son in a diaper bag and showed up at my ex's work. He works as a car salesman. He was shocked to see me, and even more shocked when I handed him the baby. I told him, we're doing 50-50 custody. You have the baby this week. You can drop him off at my house next Monday. He freaked out, said who will watch the baby while he works. I suggested he pay for daycare if he needs it. He said he can't afford daycare. We argued and I told him to figure it out. If I have to figure out how to be a mom, he has to figure out how to be a dad. His parents are calling me every name under the damn sun, meanwhile they don't want to babysit for him. Edit, for all of you suggesting adoption, I tried that while I was pregnant. Ex refused. I couldn't give the baby up for adoption without his permission. Also, I've contacted a lawyer about getting custody formalized but I haven't heard back. Update, Aita for dropping my baby off with my ex-husband even though he wants to be an every other weekend dad. Less than a day after my last post I attempted suicide. I took every hidden pain pill I had left over from surgeries, etc., and just went to sleep. If it weren't for my cousin coming to check on how I was doing without the baby, I wouldn't be here today. I spent 16 days in inpatient psych, and was diagnosed with PPD and postpartum psychosis. After my Reddit post, I was flooded with comments and DMs telling me what a monster I am for having a child that I didn't originally want. People said that my child would be better off without me, that my ex-husband and I are just going to ruin our child's life. Adoption was something pushed, because to most commenters there was no way I could ever manage to be a good mother. I had considered adoption at one point, but the time for that had passed. Many people latched onto that as a sign that I shouldn't have my child. The worst part was the DMs. A lot of people outright told me to just kill myself so my child doesn't have to deal with me anymore. Many men said women are just whores who don't want to deal with the consequences of sex. Many tried to pressure me into giving them my child. Couples with infertility issues telling me that it's not fair that I had a child I didn't want while they're struggling, and that my child would be better off with them. There was even one where she started off friendly and helpful, and we chatted for hours. Just to turn and call me every name in the book when I said I'm not giving her my child. It was all too much. I already felt terrible for just needing a break and some time to myself. It had been a long time since I've so much as showered alone. In inpatient I met a very kind nurse who told me she struggled with the same things after having her child, and it took a long time to bond. But eventually everything clicked into place. I'll never forget her. Since getting out, my ex and his family have been quiet and somewhat apologetic. He has agreed to split custody. My ex asked me to pay a small amount towards daycare for his custody time, with his parents also chipping in, and I agreed. He's had the baby since I've been out, as I've been adjusting to some med changes that have been making me feel like I'm in the twilight zone. But he drops the baby off for a few hours at a time, and my cousin is mostly here to help me. Things have been okay, and they're getting better. I've been remorseful, and the thought of my child growing up without a mother potentially made me sad. I'm in therapy, and I'm trying to do whatever I can to be a better mother. I just needed help, so yeah. My advice to anyone out there who is struggling: go to counseling. Find some kind of group therapy to attend. Reach out to your family. Get psychiatric help if you need it. There's a lot of bad people out there, and the internet is not your friend. I'm glad I'm still here. Other women haven't been as lucky, and there have even some that have taken their babies with them. If it were up to some people who DM'd me, I'd be dead right now. Stories number 6. Aita for refusing to give a reward after 2 kids returned my open mail with money inside. I'm 27F, but I am pretty petite and could easily pass for like a high scholar. So I am home alone at my parents' place dog sitting, and I get back from walking the dog, and as soon as I close the door and lock it, I hear the Ring Cam doorbell go off and knocking, and I can see through their Alexa that it's 2 kids. Probably middle school aged. They have a bike and scooter. I did not see them when I came back from the walk, so I don't know where they were waiting or where they even came from. They are just standing there, and so I'm thinking that they are trying to sell something or another, so I plan to just ignore them and focus on getting the dog resettled. Except now the dog is barking like crazy because she senses someone by the door, and I can hear the kids say, "I just saw her go inside." They then say, "We found something of yours and it has money inside." So they are knocking like crazy and even start kicking the door. I figure that I'll just speak to them through the Ring bell, so I say, without opening the door, "Hi. Just leave it in the mailbox. I cannot open the door right now because my dog is not friendly." Which is true, but also like, I have no idea if this is a scheme or if there's an adult in a car waiting for them, etc. My mind is going into all sorts of scenarios that could end horribly for me. After them standing there for like 5 minutes, I can see through the cam that they put it in the mailbox and walk slowly away on their bike scooter. About 2 minutes later, one of the kids comes back and puts his hood on. Rings the doorbell, and I can see him put his hood on, and I say, "What's up?" through the Ring cam. And he says my friend wants a reward. And I say, "Thank you for bringing back the mail, but there is no reward, please leave." And the kid just stands there demanding a reward. So I say, "I have your faces, if you try to threaten me, I will call the cops." The kid then says, "Call the cops, I don't care. I returned your money. If I ever find something for your house again, I'm not returning it." He then walks away before giving me the finger. I'm not looking to get these kids into any sort of trouble or anything, because I think they were just being dumb fucks and they couldn't have been older than like 14-15, but Aita for not giving a reward. What they returned ended up being an opened envelope. Don't know how they got it, if it was already ripped, or if they opened it, from my aunt that had a $20 bill in it. My aunt is old school like that. I've had my fair share of finding misplaced items, wallets, and I've never once demanded or even expected a reward. My friend wanted me to post their faces on the Nextdoor app and blast them, but I don't know. So, ETA, because I see some comments about this, I didn't think the fact that he put his hoodie on made me feel unsafe. I didn't feel unsafe about the boys themselves, more annoyance because it was stressing the dog out, although them standing there for a while made me think someone might have been coercing them to stay there until someone answered the door, but that might just be my anxiety. I was also extremely stressed about the reactive dog, and that played a big factor into me not wanting to open the door when I could accomplish what needed to be said. A thank you and leaving in the mailbox is fine, through the Ring doorbell. I also felt kinda weirded out when one boy came back and not the other. I mentioned my age and size because you'd be surprised at how people assume you are naive when you're A, young, and B, a woman, and C, know that you might be home alone. Stories number 7. Aita for choosing to live with my ex-stepmom instead of my dad after their divorce. I, 18F, are about to graduate high school and things have been weird at home for a while, but now everything's kind of blown up and I'm getting a lot of mixed reactions, so I figured I'd post here. My dad remarried when I was 14. His new wife had 2 kids from a previous marriage who were younger than me. From the start, she was polite, but cold. Never rude, but definitely distant. She always seemed more relaxed and affectionate with her kids, which hurt, but I figured maybe that was just natural. But whenever I came in the room she stopped laughing and looked at me as if I was a danger of hurting her or her children. For years I felt like I was walking on eggshells around her. I tried being friendly, helping out with her kids, giving her space, etc., but it never felt like I was truly welcome in my own home. It hurt, but I got used to it. But something changed this past year. I don't know exactly what triggered it, but stepmom started acting different. More present. Kinder. She started checking in on me, inviting me to sit with her and her kids more, even standing up for me when my dad would snap or criticize me. And that's when things started to click between us. Turns out, my dad had told stepmom a lot of stuff about me when they first got together, things like I was manipulative, dishonest, moody, lazy, and emotionally unstable. Basically made me sound like some troubled, dramatic teenager who couldn't be trusted. I found this out because I overheard them fight about it. She apologized. Said she realized how wrong she'd been and how my dad was constantly nitpicking, belittling, and controlling, and how she never saw it clearly until she started watching how he treated me versus everyone else. They divorced about 2 months ago. My dad expected me to stay with him. Legally I could do whatever since I'm 18. But I told him I wanted to live with stepmom. It caused a whole explosion. He said I was choosing a woman who never even wanted me. That I was turning my back on my real family. His parents, my grandparents, called me ungrateful. Even a few family friends said I was being disloyal and just trying to hurt him. But here's the thing, Dana does want me now. She's apologized, made an effort, and treats me like a human being. She is the one coming to visit my school competitions and helps me whenever I ask her. My dad hasn't taken a real interest in me in years. She listens. She makes space for me. She showed me what it feels like to be safe. Update, Aita for choosing to live with my ex-stepmom instead of my dad after their divorce. Hi again. I honestly didn't expect my post to get the attention it did, but thank you to everyone who offered support, advice, or even just validation. Reading your comments helped me feel a little less alone in all of this. I wanted to give an update, especially since some people asked if my dad ever tried to explain himself. He did. After I moved in with my ex-stepmom, things were quiet for a few weeks. Then, last week my dad asked to meet. I agreed, hoping maybe this would be a turning point, that he'd acknowledge the way he treated me and maybe even apologize. But instead, I got a whole different kind of explanation. He told me that he was still in love with my mom, who passed away when I was 10, and that he had never truly moved on. He said that after she died, he felt like he lost not just his wife, but a piece of himself. He admitted that he married stepmom not out of love, but because he thought building a new family would help him fill the void. But it didn't. And instead, he grew bitter and angry, and started taking it out on everyone. On stepmom. On her kids. On me. And then he said something that completely shattered me. He said he never wanted her to bond with me, because if she did, it would feel like my mom was being erased. That he couldn't handle the idea of me loving someone else in a mother role. That every time he saw stepmom and I getting along, it felt like I was letting go of my mom and replacing her, which is just not true. I will always love my mom. Nothing could ever change that. But I also deserve to have people in my life who care about me now. People who show it. Stepmom has done that. She's trying, and she's here. When I asked him if he realized how much he'd hurt me, how he'd changed from the dad I remembered, he didn't deny it. But he also didn't apologize. He just said he was dealing with his grief the only way he knew how, and that I should respect that. He told me stepmom was taking me away from him, and that I had replaced my mom. He said, word for word, you chose her over your real mother's memory. I walked out. I don't think I will talk to him again unless he does apologize and changes his ways. I'm still processing all of this. I'm trying to hold space for the version of my dad who was kind, who tucked me in at night and made waffles on Saturdays. But I'm also not going to pretend the last few years didn't happen. Grief isn't an excuse for cruelty. And choosing peace and love now isn't a betrayal of the past. Stepmom's not perfect, but she's trying, and for now, this feels like the healthiest place for me to be. We're rebuilding something strange and new, but it feels more real than anything I've had in years. I don't know what the future holds with my dad. But I know this, I'm allowed to be loved. And I'm allowed to choose it, wherever I find it. Stories number 8. AIO for refusing to my sister's rebirth party. So my sister has always been into weird stuff, crystals, astrology, raw milk, but last year she took some kind of hallucinogenic frog venom at Burning Man, had a full breakdown, and came back calling herself Obsidian Womb Fox. That's not a joke. She legally changed it from Lindsay. Her email signature even says born again, now with more ancestral knowing. Anyway, she recently sent out wax-sealed invitations for her rebirth party, an event she's hosting in our parents' backyard to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of her ego death. The invite was wild. It asked guests to dress in uterine tones, said the party would begin at sunrise or when the hawk signals, and promised a journey through the sacred canal of transformation. I didn't know what any of that meant, but I figured, hey, it's just one morning, maybe there's a mimosa or something. Then my cousin sent me the full itinerary she got through a private group chat. I was left out because I made a placenta joke once and got the boot. Apparently the main event involves my sister being reborn from a papier-mâché uterus while a fully grown man named Curtis, who she found on Craigslist, pretends to be her womb. Like, she's literally crawling out of him while he moans and plays a Tibetan singing bowl. The finale includes her cutting a red ribbon umbilical cord, screaming I am rewoven, and then doing a primal dance in a giant inflatable kiddie pool full of coconut oil. I told her I wasn't going. I was respectful about it. Just said, hey, I love you, but I'm not comfortable watching you get fake birthed by a guy in a spandex bodysuit. She flipped. Said I was refusing to support her second becoming, that I still see her as a linear being and that I'm chained to the masculine lie of the Gregorian calendar. Now my mom's upset, my aunt says I'm being close-minded, and my uncle is going but only because there's going to be a taco truck and apparently you get a free lapis lazuli bracelet with every birthing. So Reddit, am I just overreacting because I'm not wanting to attend my adult sister's backyard rebirth where a Craigslist guy acts as her womb? Stories number 9. AITA for asking my half-sister not to have my dad walk her down the aisle. Before my mom and dad married, my mom was in a relationship with another man that produced a daughter, Mary. They broke up shortly after Mary was born and within 6 months our mom had married my dad. They've been married for nearly 30 years and share 4 children, myself plus 3. Mary is close with our sisters and brother but she and I have never really gotten along. We're just different personalities and see little of each other so as to remain civil when we are together. We both became engaged to Mary around the same time. My dad has always loved Mary and viewed her as one of his kids, despite Mary having her own loving dad. Mary's dad battled cancer at various times of his life and unfortunately he died when Mary was 20. I suppose I've always been a little jealous that my dad has always viewed Mary as his child and she got the love of 3 parents. My dad has often said that part of falling in love with our mom was aided by baby Mary. I understand that a stepfather can love a stepchild just as much as a biological child but factually I am my father's oldest child, his first daughter, and I always thought that I would be the first child he walked down the aisle, the first daughter he shared a father-daughter dance with. I've always thought that I am entitled to this as the first daughter and first child. Mary has mentioned in our family Zoom chats that she's considering asking my dad to do the fatherly tasks at her wedding, walking down the aisle, giving her away, father-daughter dance, but she might also ask our brother, or one of her uncles from her dad's side, who she's very close to. After that chat I called her to talk privately and asked her not to have my dad walk her down the aisle. I explained everything as I have above, apologized to her that her father can't be here, but my dad is not her dad and I can never get back any of those firsts if she takes them. I pointed out that despite Mary not being his real child my dad saw her first words, her first steps, her first everything because he's been in her life since she was less than a year old, and when I came along none of those things were as special to my dad as they should have been, and he refers to me as his second child. For what it's worth, Mary has never considered my dad anything more than a stepfather. They get along well, they love each other, but Mary has always been clear that her dad was her dad and my dad was her stepdad. Mary was incredibly offended by my request and called me a few choice names and logged off. She is now ignoring my calls and texts as I try to further explain. She obviously told our mom and my dad because my dad sent me a text telling me that he was disappointed in me and that families come in all shapes and sizes. It was never my intent to hurt anyone, but I feel very strongly about this and had to speak up or regret it. Was I an asshole? Edit. Whoever reported me to the Reddit crisis people, that's a sick thing to do. That button should not be abused. You have no idea if it might actually send someone over the edge receiving it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. YTA. One of your younger sisters could have gotten married first anyway. There's no entitlement to being the oldest sister and getting married first. Get over yourself. Commenter 2. I'm guessing the OP probably wouldn't have made the same request of her younger sisters if they did get married first. Reply. I would have done. Mary just happened to be the first, sibling to get engaged. Commenter 3. Wait a second. So if your younger sisters got engaged, you would have asked them to not have their dad walk them down the aisle or have a father-daughter dance because you hadn't yet? Reply. I mean, since you're asking, then yes. I have missed out on all the firsts. I wanted one thing for myself that wasn't compared to Mary's. Commenter 4. Info. Are you, like, 12 and addicted to Disney princess movies? Reply. I'm 25 and what's wrong with loving Disney movies? Comment 1. For the love of God, I think I might be Mary, because this is literally what is happening with myself and my sister, Lucy. When our brother said that someone on Aita was posting something that was eerily similar to the fight going on, I thought he was joking, but obviously he is not. Hey all, I am Mary, the aforementioned half-sister. I even resurrected my old account just to comment here. Lucy, stop blasting family problems on the internet. You've already taken this to Facebook and you're texting all of mom's family. You need to stop. You aren't even actually engaged to Hunter yet, you've only been together for a few months. You know Seth and I have been together for 7 years. Seriously, you've always been irrational, but this is absolutely ridiculous. You need to take this post down and stop telling a half-skewed version of facts. If anyone would like to know the parts of the story that she is leaving out, feel free to message me or comment here. There's a lot more going on here than my sister is letting on. I'm sorry, everyone, you're investing yourselves in a half-baked drama without all the facts. My sister has always done this. I'm so sorry she's brought you all into it. I'm sorry. Edit. I hope I've helped clear this thing up a little. At least, you have the rare opportunity to see the other side of the argument. I'm glad my brother subs Aita and saw this when he was sorting by new. Normally he scrolls past anything dealing with weddings, but he said this one sort of hit home because of what's going on and he knew it was us from reading it. I'm going to go away now, I'm tired, I've got to work in the morning. I hope this has been helpful to some. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Good night. Lucy, get help, love you. Reply. Grace, go away. Commenter. Actually, I think we all want Grace to stay. Commenter. I would like Grace to stay. Commenter. I'm getting the popcorn ready. What is OOP leaving out from the post? Comment 2. Okay, so basically, my dad did not just die, I was his next of kin and had to order life support turned off because at the end of his life he neglected to make a will or a DNR or anything stating his wishes, so at 20 years old I essentially had to kill my father and I went through a severe mental breakdown afterward. Lucy's father, my stepdad, who I've never referred to by his first name but as Pa, was instrumental in helping me heal and move on from my dad's death. If it hadn't been for him being a father to me, I might not be here today. He and I talk at least 3 times a week, we also share several online game teams with each other, and we have lunch at least 4 times a month and just catch up. OP, hereafter known as Lucy, has always been jealous of me because I got the best of both worlds being a 50-50 kid. My dad had more money than our mom and Pa because he had 1 child, so my lifestyle was vastly different than hers. I tried my best to never flaunt it, but little kids make mistakes in learning. Lucy also has a habit of saying she's in these deep relationships when she isn't. I have been incredibly lucky in my love life. I met my fiancé, Seth, when we were in our early 20s and we just fell for each other. We were talking marriage within the first year but held off until we were more mature, older, and wiser. Ever since then Lucy has dated men and acted like they were her soul mates. In truth, she basically stalks these poor guys and goes full-on overly attached girlfriend until they break up with her, and she spends the next decade talking smack about them when she is the problem in every relationship. She's been dating a guy for a few months and then Seth and I officially announce our engagement and suddenly she and this boy are engaged and in love and she's finally found the one person to make her happy forever. And, she didn't ask me not to have Pa walk me down the aisle, she ordered me not to. It was never a request out of sisterly love, she sent me a curse and insult-laden text message demanding that I have someone else walk me down the aisle or I'd be sorry, whatever that means. Pa isn't just disappointed, he and Mom aren't speaking to her right now because after I told them about Lucy's latest meltdown, Pa called her and Lucy went off on him. Oh, and Lucy also told me that if I wanted Dad to walk me down the aisle then I should consider investing in a shovel or a backhoe and hoping the human decay process isn't too far along. Yep, but wait. There's more. Comment 3. Let me see, since Lucy wants to air dirty laundry in public, then I see no reason why I should refrain. It's cathartic, I suppose. I once won a very prestigious local writing competition and Lucy was so angry that she burned a box set of my favorite books. I was bought a small car when I was 16 and Lucy was so angry that she went Carrie Underwood on it. She spent the entirety of my dad's funeral mocking it because he was a Catholic and I was raised Catholic as well and his funeral was a high mass. I did a little acting when I was in my early 20s, never got famous but I got a nice little chunk of change, one role got me a little press attention. Lucy, then a teenager, shared several embarrassing stories and photos with the reporters. Fortunately I can find no trace of any of it online so I guess I got saved. Oh, my dad, a second-generation Italian-American, took me on a trip to the town his ancestors came from in Italy before they immigrated, and Lucy sent me several Wikipedia articles on plane crashes. But, fear not, she's like this with our other siblings as well. When told OOP is getting torn apart in the comments. Comment 4. I see that. I know it seems like she deserves it but honestly, it won't do anything. From as far back as the age of 7 she has had teachers and other adults advocating she get therapy. Our parents put her in therapy but she stopped going when she was 13 and the therapist couldn't do anything about it. Around the age of 10 our mom and pa and the kids actually moved to California for mom's career. I stayed behind in New York with my dad because I couldn't stand living with Lucy anymore. She was like this as a small child. None of this is new behavior. I love her and I wish she would get help. She has moments where she can be an incredible person. She's an advocate for animal rights and has saved over 100 animals that otherwise would have died or been killed. She volunteers at nursing homes and homeless shelters. She once raised over $20,000 for a local domestic violence shelter. She's an amazing singer. She can paint, dance. She's smart as a whip and got a doctorate at age 22. She's also just nuttier than squirrel poo. When told her parents failed OOP, trust me when I tell you, they tried. Her dropping out of therapy, that wasn't where they stopped. There were so many therapists, so much one-on-one with her so she'd feel valued. There's a lot I can't detail on Reddit because even my nutty sister deserves medical privacy, but our parents tried as hard as they could. Some people just don't want to be helped, but they tried. Final comments from Mary. Commenter. Mary Grace, I would like to take this opportunity to tell you that I hope you have the most beautiful wedding imaginable, surrounded by people you love and who care about you. Your pa walks you down the aisle and there's not a dry eye in the house. I hope the food's delicious and the cake is the best damn cake ever, or whatever dessert you want. Pie is underrated as a wedding dessert I think. I hope you don't let Lucy's jealousy and selfishness get in the way of you have the most amazing wedding ever. I have never been more invested in a stranger's wedding but damn it Grace you deserve it. Mary, thank you, you're very kind. It's going to be a very small, very intimate, very safe affair. My groom and I recently bought a property that has a large field and we're hoping for the summertime. We get some gorgeous fireflies along the tree line and there's room enough for the tables and dancing and all that. My Italian side is bringing pasta and Italian desserts, and my mom's side are bringing a pork smoker and we're gonna have a pig, some seafood, a whole smorgasbord. Then I guess we'll just get drunk and wake up wherever. We'll see how it goes. Stories number 10. Aita for refusing to accept blame for my stepbrother's decision not to talk to my stepmother anymore. My dad and stepmother got married when I was 9 and my stepbrother was 11. I was a child who lost my mom and my stepbrother was a child of divorce. So I was always at their house while my stepbrother divided his time between his parents. When my stepmother came into my life she was looking to take the role of a mother figure. I did not see her in that way. I accepted her making my dad happy. But to me the mother figures were my mom who died and my 2 grandmas. My dad never tried to take on a father figure role for my stepbrother because his dad was alive and that relationship was allowed to just exist as whatever. This was not true for me and my stepmother. To this day I find it unfair even though my dad has said he still disagrees. He thinks I needed my stepmother more than I let her be needed. That's how he puts it anyway. My stepmother spent a lot of time trying to become more than just the woman my dad was married to. This did come at the expense of her own son and even at times my half-siblings. We never fought as such. But she was determined to become a mother figure and if I went to either grandma for something instead of her she focused extra attention on me. Eventually the 3 of us, dad, stepmother, and me, went to family therapy and the therapist had us all do some work. It ended with no major changes except my stepmother focused less of her attention on me. I think this came too late for my stepbrother or he never got to experience the change of focus. Recently he told his mom that she chose someone else's kid over her own and said their relationship was done. My dad called to tell me. A few weeks later my dad called me again and chewed me out for not changing my relationship with my stepmother after costing her a relationship with her son. My dad laid the blame on me. He said if I'd let her be a mother figure to me and was willing to be closer with her then she wouldn't have needed to spend so much time on me. I told him none of that was on me, it was on her and I do not claim any responsibility for my stepmother and stepbrother's relationship. He told me I should because I know I'm the cause of it going wrong. Stories number 11. Aita for leaving my girlfriend after she got date raped. My GF, explicitly because I was spending my weekend with family who had flown in from out of state country, decided to go out. She spent however much of the day at the mall with some guy she said she just wanted to be friends with. He took her back to his place where there was apparently a party. She turned off her location. I noticed when I went to send her a goodnight message and asked her if everything was okay and if she was safe. She affectionately said she was. I asked her if her home Wi-Fi was down again, she told me she had turned it off so her parents wouldn't know where she was. I asked her where she was and she never answered me. From the bits she's told me, the music was loud. He told her he wanted to show her his room because of how hilariously tiny it was. She went up with him, and he started going after her sexually. She said it was late and her parents were worried about her and she wanted to go home, but from what I understand he pressured her into saying yes. That's cohesion and rape. I got a message that morning telling me she had cheated but her friends told her it was rape. I messaged her, drew her hugging geese, told her I wanted to make sure she was okay and call. I offered to drive over. She told me she was with her good friend, different guy obviously, and spending the day with him. I kept messaging, worried about her, to no response, until I stopped to not pressure her. I barely got through work that day, and got myself drunk, first time properly sloshed, that night to stop worrying when trying to be with family I only had a day with between months or years. She called me when I was drunk and asked me to come over, offered to Uber me over, told me she needed me. I told her I was drunk and couldn't be there. I had also promised my family members not to talk to her if they let me at the hard whiskey. She called me and I was apparently asking too many questions and told me to just spend the next day with family. The next day while I was with family, she begged me to come over. By that point I was already talking to family, including my sister, who was abused, including raped by her ex, trying to understand. They all told me she breached my trust. In all fairness, they're biased because they feel she's abusive. In a previous Aita post, all responses told me I was being abused, if they believed the story at all. I broke up with her then, but she told me she needed me to sit next to her that night or she wouldn't be able to finish her take-home midterm. She aced it while I worked right next to her. We talked and cuddled and I thought things would improve, and some aspects definitely did. My sister told me breaking up with her then comforting her would just lead me back into the cycle and hurt her too. And I thought through all the stories I had hidden from them and my friends of how she did me wrong, and I yelled at them that they were wrong, and I just slid down onto the ground, and wrote this message. You did not deserve to be raped. What he did was awful and it is never your fault. But, you went up to his room alone with him after you two spent however much of the day together, you made fun of me for how oblivious I was at the start, but even I would have caught that. You didn't tell him about me because you didn't want to ruin his opinion by being too complicated. You can say my boyfriend is worried about me without explaining our entire relationship. You could make it clear you were taken, but you didn't when you have actively complained to me about how men often only befriend women for sex. And again, none of that excuses rape and I am so sorry that happened to you. But that doesn't change that you cheated on me, not physically but emotionally. My family doesn't know so many of the other cheating adjacent things either. And so many friends are telling me the exact same thing. When you called me I melted at your voice and forgot it all. But our relationship died when you walked into that room. It should have died when you refused full exclusivity, and it should have died when you kissed that guy on our break. If I go over there now I will be betraying my sister, and other relatives, when I promised so many times I wouldn't leave her again. And besides, there's nothing I as your ex can possibly do to genuinely support you right now, especially with how shattered my trust is. I'm sorry I made a promise to you I couldn't keep. You were right. Your trauma is valid, and if you need to, please talk to a professional at the sexual assault hotline. Thank you for the lessons, the fun, your amazing cooking, and the geese, and poodle, ex-relationship code word meaning 100% sincerely, wish you the very best. Goodbye, I don't think we should stay in contact, even though it burns me inside to say this. I'll send you your stuff, including replacement Tupperware, and I'll figure out with someone to grab my stuff too. Comments. Commenter 1. I had already dumped her when she went to the party and turned her location off. She went there to cheat. It was already over. Commenter 2. She literally went on a date with another guy, then followed him to his home, turned off her location, followed him into his room and slept with him, and is now screaming rape. Like I normally wouldn't want to victim blame, but it really sounds like she just went on a date, slept with another guy, then decided to say she was raped just in case anything ever came up due to her turning off her location. Commenter 3. See you next month when you're back with the abusive little idiot, although I hope not. Reply, yeah, last time I made a post like this, I went right back because she promised to change. And while she did check herself into therapy like I asked her to, now she's just about burned the bridge. And even though I blocked her on everything, she's still putting photos into the shared album. It genuinely makes me cringe now when I see her face, so I think I'm safe on that, and if not, I am in the process of having a conversation with my entire friend network piece by piece so that they can get my head on straight if I even think about going back. Currently I'm throwing myself into helping my sister with her wedding by illustrating their guest song book and hitting the gym to get back the six-pack I had before I met her. Update. Commenter. Geez, if you write like this to explain a simple explanation I would hate to have a chat with you. To recap, OP originally posted about leaving his girlfriend after a very messy situation involving what appeared to be both cheating and a potential date rape. Since then, things got even more chaotic, but he's now come out the other side doing much better. While visiting family, OP found out his girlfriend had cheated and then claimed she was raped by the other guy. She gave conflicting stories and avoided sharing key info. OP later learned she had secretly been seeing this guy for over a month, despite promising to block him. She even manipulated train trips to cover it up. During a really rough week, flat tire, family member's sudden death, university stress, she got around his blocks and shared a very detailed story that helped OP piece together what happened. Despite attempts at reconciliation and manipulative behavior from her, love bombing, emotional abuse, gaslighting, OP finally broke things off completely. He wrote a 43-page letter to himself for closure, started therapy and support groups, CODA, and began truly focusing on himself. He's now been fully no contact for nearly a month. She's tried to break it in weird ways, CVS receipts, Duolingo reactions, but he stayed strong. Life is much better, he's acing exams, prepping for his sister's wedding, pursuing a job contract, reconnecting with people, and even open to dating again. Ending message, OP thanks everyone for their support and says healing came from within, not from the person who hurt him. Update. So, something like 2 months ago, I made a post here. In short, while I had family I barely saw in town over the weekend, my ex hung out with a friend, her location went off, then she told me she had cheating, but then that she'd been raped the next morning, then contact stopped, then I got drunk because I was just glassy-eyed, and was trying to enjoy the time I barely got with family, then she suddenly wanted me over, etc. I ended up coming to the conclusion that she had been date raped while cheating on me, and with my family's support, especially my sister, who had been raped herself in the past, I ended things and dumped her. I thought that was a lot when it happened, but shit went insane afterwards. So, I ended up spending the day with family, and that night, I went to my cousin's grandmother's 79th birthday. She and her husband were basically surrogate grandparents to me. That section of the family was always close, so they were almost grandparents to me. Her husband threw this massive party, seemingly out of nowhere. That was the night I wrote the original post. 2 days later, his heart stopped. I was already a mess, between trying to process what happened with my ex, wanting answers and closure, and also dealing with a flat tire, then he was in the hospital with guaranteed brain damage, and then he was dead. I basically collapsed the first week after the post, skipping all my university classes, and only going to work. I attended his vigil every night after he was taken off life support at the end of the week. He was brain dead, but my family wanted to keep him alive until relatives from out of town could get back. During this time, my ex got around my block, messaging me on Steam, which I forgot to block her on. She said she just wanted to tell me the full story, and recounted her story of the rape in extreme detail. She explicitly avoided telling me any information about the affair, lest I discover who it was. However, in telling me that, I was able to piece together who it was, a guy she had been in the talking phase with when we were talking to, who told her he had no interest in being friends when she chose me. Months before this incident, she had called a break, went on a date and kissed him. I should have left her then, but through guilt and promises, and what I later learned was a trauma bond built through abuse, I took her back. She swore to block him and yada yada. But, I wanted answers, and I was feeling so completely dead trying to process everything, I let her convince me to talk in person under the guise of closure. She cried, and begged, and promised and pleaded. I sat there, like a rock, for hours, tried walking out several times, but she withheld information, while dripping it to me just quickly enough to make it feel like progress. Over the next week, I uncovered the story. She had been seeing him in secret for the month before. She claimed it was all platonic. She put incredibly effort into seeing him. She talked shit about me too. But what really gets me is that she took the train into my city, where he lived too, greeted him at the station, never wanted me to pick her up from her city anymore, 80 miles away, then shamed me for never picking her up, and painting herself as sacrificing for me by taking the train, when she was meeting her affair at the station. I worked when the train pulled in. It was her spring break, so she was back in town for a week. She love-bombed me for that whole time, presented herself as a safe harbor in the emotional storm she caused. I was 3 weeks behind on my classwork by then, and I was only able to be productive around her, so I stayed there to stay afloat, falling into her hoover. But, then I saw her promises be broken, I saw the mask begin to slip, and I started collecting my stuff so she could not keep it hostage. I began mentally preparing to leave. Then the emotional abuse started again, the devaluation, the gaslighting, but I tried a few times to present myself, only to be emotionally attacked for a week. Then she realized I was leaving, and it flipped into gaslighting, claims of loyalty and love. I remember sending this when she claimed I was presuming to know her mind by saying she didn't love me nor was loyal to me. I'm not a mind reader, but, if your brand of loyalty involves betrayal and cheating repeatedly, I don't want that loyalty. I ended up aggregating every letter I never sent her into a 43-page document. I read through it all, and I did what she never could. I listened to my younger self, I felt his pain, I became the person he had needed for 7 months, someone who could truly listen. I supported him, I proved to myself that I could love myself, and that I was enough. That was what gave me closure, myself, not her. Closure never comes from another person, only from you. Then I cut contact, more thoroughly that time. NC will be a month in 3 days. She tried contacting me by using my phone number at CVS to send me a receipt, adding my on chess.com, and reacting to my Duolingo streak, but I just kept going. It was hard at first, but I got myself into therapy, where I started at medium depression, but have been cleared completely, started attending Codependence Anonymous meetings, reconnected with friends and family better than I ever had before in my life. I also realized that I was likely dealing with someone with comorbid BPD and NPD, especially since she would explicitly revoke her empathy and love at times, among many other things you can read by going through my post and comment history. But, she's not important anymore. What matters is that I took all that energy and love I had given her and put it into myself, and I'm now doing better than I ever have been. I'm on top of myself, and I'm busy, but I'm loving it. I went from a 78 on my math exam at the beginning of NC, to a 106.5 a few days ago. I barely think of my ex anymore, and while I'm not looking for romance, someone approached me the other day, and I had an amazing time with her then, so I'm open to see where things go. Apart from that, my sister's wedding is in 2 weeks, I've been incredibly busy illustrating for that, drew for 8 hours today, my finals are at the same time, and I'm also pursuing a Microsoft contract, so life is amazing, but exhausting. I'm driving out to the desert with my friend tomorrow though, and he's going to introduce me to a bunch of motor and water sports, so I'm honestly really excited, plus I'm getting a ton of friends together on Sunday to meet up after a while. Life is really good. I just wanted to thank everyone who commented and med me on the original post. So many of you helped me. Several people wanted an update then, so, here it is. TLDR, life is good when you love yourself instead of an abuser. Commenter, dude, you were with someone who traumatized the fuck out of you. Just reading your posts I can see the trauma that you've gone through. Be kind to yourself and don't let anyone treat you this way. I'm not here to vilify people with BPD at all. Through therapy they can become successful in relationships if they are willing to acknowledge, like any other human being must, the harm they cause when they cause harm, hold themselves accountable, and work to regulate their emotional responses to their strong emotions. But what you dealt with was someone who had done little to no work on themselves, and with someone with BPD ESP that's a total disaster train wreck. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my friend I won't drive her to work anymore after she kept making us late. I, 25F, have been giving my friend Lena, 27F, a ride to work for the past 3 months. We live a few blocks apart, work at the same place, different departments, and start at the same time, so it made sense at first. At the beginning, everything was fine. But over the past month, she started running late, like really late. I text her when I leave my house, and sometimes I end up sitting outside for 10 to 15 minutes waiting. A few times she's even asked me to swing by a coffee shop or drop her off at a different entrance, which adds time. We've both gotten written up for being late twice now. I finally told her this week that I can't keep driving her if she's not ready on time. I said I like her and I don't want to fall out over something small, but I need to look out for myself and my job. She got really quiet and said she didn't think it was that big a deal and that I was being kind of cold over something that was supposed to be a favor. Now she's barely talking to me at work, and a mutual friend told me she feels ditched. I didn't mean to hurt her, but I feel like I was doing her a favor and she started treating it like a service. I'm not her Uber driver. So, Aita for cutting off the ride after she kept making me late. Stories number 13. My, F50, best friend is dying. My fiancé, M52, has waited to pick a fight that may end our relationship right before I see her for the last time. I can't make sense of this, and I don't know what to do or think. I am beginning to believe that my fiancé is a covert narcissist, or has some severe narcissistic traits. My thoughts are all over the place, please bear with me. This past week, he has been very moody and difficult. I asked him multiple times if he was okay, and was told he was fine. I am about to make a very difficult trip to visit my best friend who is dying of cancer. This will be the last time I see her. It has been heartbreaking and he knows that this trip will be incredibly hard. I leave in 2 days. This weekend right before I go, my daughter and I went away overnight. It was meant to be later, but because I have to make the emergency trip overseas to be with my best friend, it had to be rescheduled. I mention this only to give background, over timing. The night before I left with my daughter, he picked a fight over some very trivial things. He was insistent that the storage locker in our building should suddenly be reorganized, and he was furious that it didn't seem to matter. He ignored me the rest of the evening and came to bed late. I didn't say anything to him. I admit I was hurt and upset and just wanted to sleep. Friday morning he sent me a very long text with a list of grievances, very petty things. The storage locker, how angry he was that we left our shoes by the door that I never vacuum, on and on. The last text he sent said basically, all of these things made him feel like he was going to stop loving me. All day at work I could barely focus, I really couldn't believe it. I replied that none of this made sense, and that I thought it was coming from him feeling overwhelmed that I was leaving to be with my friend, and that if he felt that way, a better way to feel connected and supported would be to ask for help and a hug, instead of all of this. And that no, reorganizing a storage locker is not an immediate concern when I need to pack and prepare for my flight to be with my best friend for our very last time together. He ignored me all day today while my stomach was in knots. I feel like he deliberately chose to ruin the weekend away with my daughter by doing this, causing such upset over something that could wait. The storage locker has literally sat untouched a full year since we moved in. I tried to call him and he was still angry. He said he'd give me 5 minutes to speak. I tried to stand up for myself when he started in on me and my daughter. He hung up on me. An hour later he sent me another text. The first line was in all caps saying for me to read this carefully. I knew it was going to be another long, likely mean text. I left it unread all day. I don't want to read it. I can't take any more stress or sadness. My daughter doesn't deserve to have her happy time ruined like this, and neither do I. I now have to face him when I return home tomorrow, and I know it's going to be more fighting. I feel sad, and so alone. I am in for a very hard week trying to keep it together for my friend, making some last memories together at home hospital. I also know while this is happening, I will now have no support. He knows how much she means to me, how hard it will be, and I don't understand any of this, why he is being this way. I feel like something awful has been revealed. I don't recognize the man who is meant to love me. How do I to get through this alone? How do I handle the fight I am expecting tomorrow? Stories number 14. My 19F mother, 45F, said that men won't be into me, only black men that want to make me a baby mama because I've got a big behind. Insane behavior from my mother. We were talking about intercultural marriages in our community. It was objective casual conversation, and that was talking about how unique it can be coming from our background and being intercultural. We have a lot family members that are. We are both POC by the way, anyhow randomly, I mean out nowhere. She looked at me blankly and said, white men don't want you, only black men that want to make you a baby mama want you because you have a big butt. Which threw me off. I asked her to repeat herself. She smirks and repeats herself. I tell her that was highly inappropriate. She tries to spin it as I dislike black men. I said no, you tried to say they only want me as a baby mama and a whole group of men don't like me. Then she tries to spin it as warning, then a joke, then insults me in our language. Calling me a big-assed cry-baby. I'm not even kidding. Ever since I got Kavya she's been insulting me and dressing it up as teasing. Although she's more curvy than I could dream to be. She has this strange obsession with talking about my white exes, I mean talking about their whiteness and how I was mixing with them. She has this need to tell me how white men don't like my curvy body, unannounced too. What is her problem? She's obsessed about race. Stories number 15. AITB for breaking up with my ex over a shellfish allergy. I started dating this girl about a month ago. We went to dinner a few times to some big restaurants. I found out she loves her seafood. I'm allergic to shellfish, like highly allergic, but I didn't want to steal her joy, so she got her seafood and I would eat some steak or like a burger. She has asked me if I wanted a bite before and I have told her no, I'm allergic. A few weeks went by since our last dinner date because I got hit with the spring flu. I was sick for weeks. Last week she called and asked if I was okay and would want to stop over for dinner to try her famous chicken Alfredo. I was just starting to feel better, so I agreed to go. I have eaten chicken Alfredo many times and haven't had an issue, so I never thought twice about it, so when I took a few bites of it I noticed it tasted funny, then a few minutes later I could feel my throat closing up. I asked her what she put in it and I found out she used shrimp oil in her Alfredo sauce recipe. When she saw me struggling for air she then realized she forgot I was allergic to shrimp. I went into anaphylactic shock. She did help me, she called 911 and everything and we went to the hospital. I ended up being okay after a few injections and a few days in the hospital for observation. But I no longer felt comfortable seeing her so I broke up with her. She's now crying to her family because she felt bad and now her brother is coming at me because it was an accident and now everyone in her family is ganging up on me because I should have reminded her. Stories number 16. Women are always late to leave waiting on a woman. Yeah, because you keep interrupting us getting ready. Just a vent. Today is kiddo's HS graduation. I was up late making sure all clothes were pressed and clean, cap and gown and stole were ready. Showered and ironed my hair last night to cut down on morning getting ready time. I get up, I'm in my bathrobe, styling my hair and trying to put on makeup. Husband says he has to pee, bathroom is too small for 2 people, so I leave. I come back and he's put on his clothes and silently holds out an arm for me to do his sleeves. I tell him I can't, I need to do more important things right then, still in my bathrobe. Interrupts a couple more times asking questions he could find the answer to easily if he tried. Finally get hair and makeup done, start digging for my shoes under the bed. He is in the bedroom doorway, his mom in the hall asks a question about the location of the venue. Husband stands there looking at me, still digging, still in my bathrobe. I ask him to answer her. He stares at me for a few seconds and then says, I don't know. Okay, well I'm busy so can you look it up please? I finally get dressed, and go out to check on last minute stuff. Come back, ask if he's ready since he's lying on the bed on his phone. Yeah, I'm waiting on you. I would have been ready on time if I was allowed to get ready without being interrupted. And if you're waiting on me, why aren't you taking things to the car? I'm still first to the car. He ends up poking around looking for his mints for 5 minutes in the other car while I'm idling in the drive. Now I know why there's the age-old trope about waiting on a woman. It's because we get interrupted constantly to help everyone else get ready. Reminder, this is a small snippet of a full life. Please don't brigade a bunch of divorce, or you asked for it picking a shitty man. Everyone is allowed to vent sometimes. Stories number 17. Wibta if I told my fiancé I wouldn't come to our wedding if he insists on inviting his friend. I, 33F, have a fiancé Matt, 43M, we've known each other for almost 10 years, in a relationship for almost 4. We are currently planning our wedding and the first problem arrived with a guests list. Matt has this friend Julia, early 20s F, that is around 20 years younger than him. In general, most of his friends are at the age of 20-something so they basically could be his children. I met Julia around 6 months into our relationship and the meeting didn't really go well. I absolutely understand male-female friendships and I also have a couple of very close male friends that I have known all my life. Every time I meet any new girlfriend of any of them I am doing everything to be respectful and tactful, so that the girl wouldn't feel uncomfortable in my presence or threatened, e.g. I always hug them when we meet but never in the presence of a girlfriend that doesn't know me or knows me too little to fully grasp that the friendship is and always has been fully platonic. Matt introduced me to Julia and a couple more of his friends at the festival. She jumped on him and started saying how much she missed him. They had seen each other like 2 weeks prior when he was in his hometown, and for the whole time she was hugging his arm and trying to touch his chest while talking to anyone, including her own boyfriend, now fiancé Brad 25M. Matt didn't really notice it, which made me even madder. I stuck to the nice couple and spent that time talking to the girl, not even looking at their direction, but some sounds came through. She was actively trying to flirt with Matt and do it so loud that I could hear it. We actually were set to meet with other friends, so after like an hour we split with the group and went another way. I talked with Matt about it the next day and I told him that I really didn't like that girl and that it is unimaginable for me to behave like this when my friend introduces me to their so. Knowing that he used to sleep around back in the days, not a deal breaker really, I haven't ever been a saint myself. I asked if they ever slept together and he answered we used to spend a lot of time together during the first year of the pandemic. I took it as a no and left the topic. Months later during some other conversation he admitted that he actually lived together during COVID and they did sleep with her, and what shocked me the most in his vocabulary spending a lot of time means exactly this. I was pissed. I felt and I still feel like he lied to me about it and did it on purpose, but after a long conversation I decided to let it go. She was over 18 at that time so it's icky but not illegal, still feels a bit predatorily though. Another months went by and Matt slips another piece of information about their past relationship. It was a threesome with her now fiancé. I honestly don't remember my reaction to this revelation. I probably poured myself a drink and went to bed before blowing up. We worked past it, what's in the past is in the past, but I set clear boundaries that this person has no place in our life and in our home ever. If he wants to meet with her I'm not there, if he wants me somewhere I'm leaving the moment she arrives. You can call it jealousy, I agree. It is. But it wouldn't hit me that much if not for Julia's behavior during our first interaction and Matt's lies. As far as I know, he cut most of the contact with Julia. He is still in close contact with Brad but doesn't talk to her or meet with her on purpose so that I wouldn't feel bad every time he goes out with his young friends. Fast forward to the present. We are now engaged and planning a wedding. Some time ago when we talked about it, even before the engagement we agreed on no exes. I really wanted to invite my first BF from high school as we dated for like 2 months at 16 and we remained great friends till this day, but I didn't want to push it. No exes means no exes. I of course knew that he would want to invite Brad as they are really good friends, but we also had the conversation many months ago that he would not be invited with Julia. But here comes Matt's list and there they are, Brad plus Julia. I told him that the list itself is okay but please cross out the exes from this list as we agreed, and Matt told me that she is not the ex because they were not in a relationship. Dude. Being fuck friends falls into the agreed terms, I believe. I stood there speechless and decided not to blow up but to sleep on it and come back to the topic later, as I had on my list some people marked as invite them if the budget allows, so we will have to go through it again anyway. The more I think about it, the more I want to say that if Matt wants Julia there so much, I would not come to our wedding and he can marry her for all I care. I really don't feel that way. Apart from this topic we really don't have major long-lasting issues and our relationship is happy and I would say healthy. But this one thing. So would I be the a-hole if I told him I wouldn't be there if she is? P.S. Please don't tell me to leave him, we really do love each other and want to spend the rest of our lives together. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, whoa, he's 20 years younger than her, you met her 6 months into the relationship, of 4 years, and she's early 20s? Was she even legal when she met him? Hung out with him? Slept with him? I have guy friends, some 10 to 30 years older than me, but nothing more than Xbox friends or trivia night friends. I'm not saying people with age gaps can't be friends, or of opposite genders, but the age gap plus her age to begin with is a bit of a red flag to me. Reply, yes, in 2020 she was 18 or 19, so now she would be 23 to 24. Not really sure, don't really care, but she was legal. I hate this phase so much. OP on her fiancé's background. Reply, he is from a very small town by the sea. There is one spot at the beach that all town meets in the evenings, they have campfires, drink, and have fun. His friends from childhood, from school, all grew up, got married, had their own families and didn't have as much time as before. Matt was never married, he had a 12-year-long relationship but when it ended he just decided to have fun. He was still going to this spot but other people going there kept getting younger and younger. And that's how they met. Commenter 2, and you don't find it strange for a man his age to be hanging out with people 20 plus years younger? Reply, I do. I had a huge problem with it but I understand that people his age have families and other obligations. And people need other people. I'm not and probably never will be fully okay with it but I cannot cut him from all his friends, can I? Commenter 3, no you can't, but I think you are missing the point here. Does he still spend time with friends his age? Also Julia hanging on him like that in front of you and he doesn't see that as disrespectful? I just feel like if he's ready for marriage why is he still hanging out with the young women? Do you really believe when he's around Julia he isn't thinking about all the times he spent having sex with her? He's 43, this is not normal or okay. He won't change, one day he will look at you and decide you are too old for him. He will always be that creepy pervert looking for young girls. I don't want to be mean to you but come on. What do your friends and family say about this? I think you deserve better than what he will ever be able to give you. Reply, I didn't tell my family about it. I couldn't, they love him and if I said anything that would be over and I cannot do it while I still am trying to figure everything out. My friends are divided on the topic. As it comes to disrespect, I'm not sure if he really sees it actually. When someone openly says something bad or disrespectful about me, they're out, I've seen it and I know it's true. But he doesn't see the nonverbal things at all. I honestly think that she knows that too and never says anything as she would be cut from his life immediately, but gestures and these kinds of things are being completely overlooked. I don't get it, I really don't, how is it even possible? It sounds as if he were autistic but he is not. Commenter 4, don't you see you're not telling your family means you know it's wrong and it's shameful? Julia knows she's behaving badly in front of you or it could be they are hooking up still. I don't know but this whole situation is wrong. His friendships with these 20-somethings is not normal. Your age is better suited to him, do you spend time with his friends that are in his and yours age bracket? Reply, I know some of them. I don't mean met once or twice but actually spent some time, some parties, double dates. They're okay people mostly. Young and it shows but okay. His best friend is 21 or 22 and I actually really do like him but actually I see it more like father-son relationship. This guy doesn't really have a father, he does but you know, deadbeat dad, and Matt is actually help him navigate his getting into adulthood. But it's still not normal that he's his best friend. Update. Thank you everyone for the comments. I didn't think it would blow up like this with hundreds of comments, and even more I didn't think I would update only after a couple of hours, but here I am just minutes after the confrontation with Matt. I spoke with Matt about this Julia Brad situation and explained to him how uncomfortable it makes me feel. At first he kept telling me that I didn't get to know them well enough to understand that it was in the past and there is nothing between them anymore since a while before we started dating. I told him I didn't care to get to know them because even hearing Julia's name in the conversation makes me so mad that I cannot describe it. Even if it's another Julia, that might make me psychotic, but it is what it is and I won't apologize for it. Normally I would probably back out, but your comments really opened some doors in my soul that I didn't know existed there and gave him an ultimatum, me or them. And not only at the wedding but in our life in general. Then again, he said that when he is in his hometown he cannot control who appears at the only meeting spot there is, the beach by the sea. I mentioned it in one of the comments under original post, and I agree, he cannot. But he can control not actively approaching them and cutting the interaction short. I'm not going there with him very often as I don't get along with his family, but that's a story for another day. We used to be close with my future in-laws, but there was a huge drama with his mother, so I decided to go low contact as since one point any interactions made me very uncomfortable and ready to fight, but I think I will start at least for some time. I will deal with his mother somehow. I also laid out, again, that him sleeping with a teenager, even legal, while being in his late 30s was predatory and I don't appreciate it. We actually talked about it much earlier, but I had to say it again. I also used the argument your sister's daughter is 16, what would you do if she comes home with a male friend over 30? And I think it opened his eyes a bit as he was furious even thinking about it. Anyway, Julia and Brad will not be invited to the wedding, but we are postponing it until the time he shows me he really changed and really cares about me and about us. It can take months, it can take years. Maybe we would never tie the knot, and at this point I don't want to think about it. We were also planning on buying a house together, but I told him we will not be doing it anytime soon. We are living in my apartment in the city center and it will stay that way for now. It's not perfect as it's at the top floor with no elevator and I have some health issues that sometimes make it difficult for me to walk, but oh well, my job is understanding that sometimes I call and ask someone to bring me my work laptop and I work from home if necessary. I appreciate each and every comment, even the snarky ones. I actually feel that they did the best for me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, why does he go home so often? You can't be around his mother but he goes to visit her a lot. I really think you're ignoring way too many red flags. Reply, his parents are old, as you can imagine if he is over 40, and need help. He is on my side in the drama between me and them, but at the same time there are some unresolved issues when he really needs to show them that he is good enough, so he helps them a lot. And when he goes there he often stays the night because it's quite far. For some time he was ignoring their calls for help as they are not entirely alone. He has a sister that lives closer, but she is so self-involved that even when the father had a stroke and was taken to the hospital she said she would be there in like 3 to 4 days BCS. She was busy, but they started bombarding my phone, so he started picking up again and going there whenever they call. Commenter 2, working from home on bad days, could you just start taking the computer home every night so you have it just in case? Would transporting it daily be hard on you? I'm with you on cutting off Brad and Julia, and everything else you've said here. Reply, I hate working from home, so I do everything to do it as rarely as possible. There are just days that I have a problem with getting up from the bed on my own BCS of the pain, but it really happens once in a blue moon and actually I never know when it comes. I just wake up and oh, this is one of these days. When the pain is manageable I use the cane and get through the day. Commenter 3, why didn't you just block them? He doesn't need to help them. Why are you accepting so little from him? Is it a self-esteem issue? Reply, I believe that as they are my partner's parents I cannot just block them in case something important actually happens, like his father's stroke last year, and he doesn't pick up. The self-esteem issues are strong with both of us, but in him it's way worse. He was always the worst child. His sister is a terrible person, but for their parents she cannot do any bad things, or the black sheep of the family. I noticed it in my dad too. He is an amazing man, the best father, the best husband to my mom, the best person I know. But he also was dismissed by his parents, and the need to be seen as enough was still visible when my grandfather was still alive, and my dad being over 60 years old still wanted to prove to his father that he was worth the love. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my parents they were deserved to be kicked out of my sister's wedding. So, my 37F brother Mike 35M, is a knob. Always has been and always will be. He has been babied to the point of uselessness by our mom and dad, and that's made him an entitled slob. When he was younger he showed promise playing rugby, which had my mom and dad believing he was gonna be a superstar. The problem was though that he never had the work ethic to fully fulfill his potential. However, this meant that he was the golden boy of the family and he could do wrong in my parents' eyes. He was a bully at school, which they brushed off as other kids making up lies, but he was an even bigger bully at home to our younger sister Kelly 31F. He would constantly prank her. Which basically meant he would do anything he could embarrass her, including things like pulling her dress up in front of the whole family at a wedding when she was 15. Mom and Dad just said it was siblings being siblings, but the rest of the family were mortified by his behavior. I did try and stick up for my sister and it worked to a certain extent, but after I went away to uni, there wasn't much I could do as Mom and Dad just don't listen to anyone. It got so bad that when she was 18, my sister gave up going to her dream university, St Andrews, and instead moved to London to go to the Imperial College London. This was a huge shock to all of us as she had been talking about St Andrews since she started high school at 11. When I asked why, she said that St Andrews was too close to home and she would be expected to go back home more often, but if she went to London she would only have to go home for Christmas. This broke my heart. After she left, she did exactly that. The only time she was home was Christmas and when I got married. This really annoyed Mom and Dad as they said she was abandoning the family. I kept my mouth shut and just let them whine occasionally as I didn't want an argument. After graduating from uni, my parents expected her to move back home, but she didn't. She got a job working in southern England and stayed down there. We are from Scotland for reference. 6 years ago, Kelly met a great guy, Jake 30M. The day she met him she called me gushing about him and I've honestly never heard her speak about anyone the way she does him. I've met him several times when I've gone down to visit Kelly and he's great. Good looking, funny, great job, his family are lovely and most importantly, he treats Kelly like she hung the moon. It's very cute. After she met him, she cut down how much she came home even more as she spent the first Christmas with his family and then the pandemic happened so she ended up not coming home for 3 years. Her first Christmas home Mike started his usual bullshit, trying to be their center of attention. When it didn't work out as well as he wanted, as most of the family were more interested in getting to know Jake, he then tried to prank Kelly. He got a big bowl of water and was going to pour it over her. Jake saw what was happening and stepped in front of Kelly telling Mike to not even think about it. Side note, Jake is 6'3" and has been doing martial arts since he was 4, so he can be very intimidating when needed. Mom and Dad tried to play it off as a harmless prank, but Jake was having none of it. Mike started whining about it just being a prank and Jake told him that if he pranked Kelly one more time, he would prank Jake by putting his foot up his arse and his fist down his throat. Kelly and Jake left about an hour later, but after that Mike, Mom and Dad all had an issue with Jake. Kelly hasn't been back home since. That leads us to now, Kelly and Jake are getting married. They sent out invites in February for August. However, they didn't invite Mike. Mom and Dad are obviously incensed by this and had a huge argument with Kelly. They threatened not to go, and Kelly just said no problem she would get Granddad to walk her down the aisle. I went around to their house on Saturday with my kids. Immediately my mom started complaining about Kelly and the wedding. I sat and listened for a while before I'd had enough. I asked her what did she actually expect. Her and Dad have allowed Mike to be the golden child and get away with everything. Because of that, he can't keep a relationship, due to him thinking everyone should do everything for him. He can't hold down a job because every job is beneath him and he's still living at home with zero prospects in life. The man-child is a bully who I don't trust to be around my children unsupervised. He bullied Kelly for most of her teen years and her only escape was to move over 400 miles away and never come home. My mom got very quiet and then asked me to leave. A few hours later my dad called going mad because I'd upset my mom and was taking the side of an ungrateful little girl instead of my parents who gave me everything. This started a huge argument between me and him where I told him he'd been a crap dad to Kelly and didn't deserve to walk her down the aisle. I've just had enough, but now I've got extended family members telling me I've gone too far as my mom is barely speaking to anyone and keeps crying. My granddad said it was about time I told them off, but my grandma is upset by all the arguing. So Aita for telling my parents that they sucked a parents and deserve to be kicked out of my sister's wedding. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. If they can't stand the truth, they need to hibernate. I vote grandpa walks her down the aisle regardless of who attends. Reply, my sister isn't changing her mind, they aren't going to the wedding no matter what. She only invited them as she thought it was the right thing to do in the first place. So, Granddad will be walking her no matter what. Commenter 2, NTA. Your parents failed both of your siblings and it's going to get worse when they realize your sister won't invite them to her events and when they realize that their son will become homeless after they pass. Honestly, I'm shocked your brother hasn't been arrested yet. Reply, he has, multiple times for getting into fights when drunk. Nothing ever come of it though. Commenter 3, NTA. Truth hurts and that's why your mother is so upset. About time someone said something. Reply, I think this is true. She isn't arguing that I'm wrong, she's just went quiet and has spoken to me since. I think my words hit her hard and that's why she's so upset. Commenter 4, your mom's tears are her own doing. She ignores her daughter being treated like shit for years and then instead of owning it she tries to play the whole woe is me, I'm crying so you can't possibly be upset with me. It's actually pathetic and your sister is better off far away from your family. Maybe you could join her and also get away from the toxicity. Reply, I've already said to my husband that I don't want to be around my family for Christmas, so we are going to his. If they all carry on then I'm going NC fully. Did someone bully Mike prior to his bullying Kelly? Reply, it's never happened. He was always the bully. Even when he was 4 or 5 he was moved class as he was bullying one of his classmates. OOP on her kids being around her parents. Reply, my kids have never been around my parents without either myself or my husband as I know they would let my brother be around them unsupervised. They won't be going anywhere near my parents for a long while. They don't like going to my parents' house anyway. Commenter 5, have they pampered and spoiled Mike because he's the only boy? NTA. Bless you and Jake for being in Kelly's corner. Reply, my dad loves rugby, it's pretty much all he talks about and he is down at the rugby club every chance he gets. So it's more about him having talent in the sport, which he did. He was told by scouts when he was 13 that he could be in the back row for Scotland one day he was that good. The favoritism started after that as that made him special to mum and dad. However, he didn't have the work ethic and couldn't keep up with play as he wasn't fit enough, so he got dropped. Update. Hi all, that post took off a lot more than I thought it would. There was way too many comments for me to respond to, but I tried to read every one of them. I was asked for an update so here it is. There were a few things that came up repeatedly so I'll address them first. The pranks only started after I had left and gone to uni. He would say things to Kelly and I would have a go back at him when we were younger, but it wasn't anything more than that until after I'd left home so there wasn't anything I could really do to stop it. I did speak to our parents, but they're useless. Second thing was about my kids. I didn't bring my kids around them very much as they didn't like going to my parents' house. They said it was boring and they don't like Mike. However, after all the comments I got about this, I sat them down and asked them again. For my daughter it really is just that she finds it boring and says that Mike is a weirdo. My son however, said that he doesn't like being around my dad as he keeps trying to make him play rugby. I have heard these comments and told my dad to drop it, but he would still make the comments occasionally. I had no idea that it was upsetting my son though so this surprised me. My son doesn't like sports, be it watching or playing. He's very much like his dad in that regard. He's a Pokemon kid, playing online and goes every Thursday evening to play in a tournament at our local card shop, so rugby is an absolute no-go for him. The third thing was about security at the wedding. I spoke to Kelly and Jake said that 2 of his groomsmen are police officers who are aware of the situation, so that won't be a problem. Lastly there was a lot of comments about Mike being the golden child. For a bit more backstory, he wasn't really the favorite until his talent in rugby came to light. After that, he was special and had to be treated that way. I think he was seen as mum and dad's way of being special themselves within the family as they had such a super talented child. Anyway, today, I decided to sit down with my parents and tell them I needed a break from them. When I got there my dad immediately wanted me to apologize to my mum, but I said that wasn't going to happen. There was a bit of back and forth between him and I, until my mum stepped in and asked why I was there if not to apologize. I told them that I'd spoken to Kelly and she didn't want them at the wedding at all. That they needed to stay away and respect her decision. They weren't happy but said they wouldn't go where they weren't wanted. I then told them I wanted space until after the wedding as I couldn't keep being around them and keeping my mouth shut. I thought that space would be good for all of us. My mum wasn't happy and started on about seeing my kids. I told them the truth, my kids hated coming to their house and told my dad exactly why my son doesn't want to be around him. He got upset by this and said that rugby would be good for him. I shut that down and said I'm not going to force my son to do something he does want to and something I know he will hate. I also told him that if I hear him mention it around my son again then he won't see my son again. Right now they will only be seeing my kids at family events, so I'm hoping that it won't be a problem. I then asked them what their long-term plan was with Mike. Are they going to keep things the way they are until they're 90 and mum will still be making all his meals? What happens when they're gone, who will look after him because it won't be me? What happens if they get ill? Who will look after them? Mike is incapable, Kelly lives down south and I plan on moving back to my husband's hometown 3 hours away once the kids have left home, so I can't do it. They just looked at me blankly. I really don't think that they had ever even thought about any of that before. I told them they had set Mike up to fail and now they needed to deal with it. I also told them I knew that they were leaving everything to him in their will, but that with how they have babied Mike, he would blow through that money in less than a year and then what? I could see the panic in my mum's eyes when I said that. She either hadn't thought about it or she thought I would look after him, which she now knows isn't gonna happen. I also think she was shocked that I knew about their will. After me telling them what low contact with me was going to look like going forward and them not being happy about it, I left. Hopefully I've given them a lot to think about. I will check in with them from time to time, but that's all right now. I'm going to visit Kelly in the next couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. My extended family have also backed off after I sent them all a text saying if they were so concerned about my mum then they could be her support system and deal with Mike the same way Kelly and I have had to for years. Not surprisingly, none of them wanted to. Otherwise, I'm going to just try and get on with things as normal. Thanks for the NTA verdict and all the advice, it opened my eyes to a few things that I'd been brushing off. Relevant comments. OOP on her parents' finances and if Mike would get the house. Reply, my parents don't have much in savings so Mike will sell the house as quickly as possible, go into the cheapest rented accommodation he can find and blow the money on FIFA, nights out and clothes. He will be broke within a year. He racked up £5,000 on credit cards with FIFA packs before, so most of the money will go there. They don't have much savings, but they have the house. They've said a few things through the years that indicated he will get that as me and Kelly have our own houses. It's something I accepted a long time ago. How did OOP know about her parents' wills? Reply, it was an educated guess mostly. They have been hinting for years about myself and Kelly having houses so we don't need theirs, but Mike doesn't. They only really have the house, so it makes sense that he would get it after the comments they've made. Commenter 1, so I read your original post. Your brother pulled up your sister's dress at a wedding. Like exposing her when she was 15 and he was 18 to 19. Was he an adult for most of the torment? I don't blame your children and anyone for not wanting to be near such a creep and I'm just sad your other family are cowards and never told off Mike and your parents for his behavior and their coddling. Reply, the prank started when he would have been 15-ish. He was 19 when he pulled up her dress. Commenter 2, did I miss something in this or the original post? Is Mike disabled in some way? Why on earth would OP's parents assume he'll just keep living with them until they die and then need someone to look after him? Most parents with failure to launch children they keep sponsoring seem to assume that something will magically happen to make them grow up and act like functional adults any day now. Reply, no, he isn't disabled at all. My parents just keep saying he's finding himself. Has Mike ever held a job before? Reply, yes, but none that have ever lasted more than 6 months. He gets one when he wants something expensive that our parents can't afford, like a PS5 and when he has enough money for it then he quits, that's if he's not already been fired. He current doesn't have a job and isn't looking. The longest he's had one was 6 months. She, OOP's sister, said he's weird because he spent do anything, just sits in his room playing video games. Stories number 19. Aita for not telling my sister the name chosen for my unborn son because she used her BBF's baby name for her daughter. My sister and I are both pregnant. This is her second child and my first. We're both having boys. When my sister had her daughter 3 years ago her BFF was pregnant at the same time. My sister complained for 8 months that they didn't have any idea what to name my niece and then all of a sudden she had a name right before she gave birth. After my niece was born and her name was announced, my sister and her BFF started fighting. The BFF said that was the name she'd chosen for her baby girl and my sister used the same first and middle name for my niece and she couldn't believe she'd do that. My sister said it's first come first serve and she needed a name badly. That her BFF had time to find another name. My sister is due before me, a few weeks before, and with that in mind I don't want her to do the same thing to me. And she has asked. Nobody knows we're having a boy except me and my husband and we plan to keep it that way. But my sister has asked what our boy name is and as an afterthought she asked for our girl name too when she realized I knew what she was getting at. I refused to tell her. She tried to whine about name sharing being the fun part of pregnancy. I made up a couple of names on the spot to tell her and she saw through it. She told me to just tell her the name and I said no again. She asked a few more times, she even asked in front of our family. It was our brother who joked that nobody should tell the baby name thief the name they've chosen. My sister got upset and asked if that's why I wouldn't tell her. She told me I was holding something against her that she never did to me. Mom asked why I couldn't just share the name and everyone would know my husband and I chose it first if my sister used it but I still said no. Stories number 20. Aita for telling my estranged mom her criminal son can't live with me, and his ferret can't either. This happened about a week ago, and I need some outside perspective. I, 26F, got a text from my mother, who I barely know, asking if my brother, 23M, could have my phone number. For context, my parents divorced shortly before I was born. My mom was unstable and left when I was just a few days old. I was raised by my dad and grandparents, alongside 4 siblings. My mom re-entered my life when I was around 20, and we've had very limited contact since. She lives in another state, and we've never been close. I said fine, my brother could have my number. I've only met him once, but I was willing to connect, to a point. That's when my mom dropped the real reason. She wanted him to move in with me. She deliberately waited to tell me after I agreed to share my number. If she'd asked me up front, I would have said no immediately. Apparently, my brother got into a physical altercation with her husband, my stepdad, and things got bad enough that cops were almost called. Now my brother is no longer welcome at their house. Here's the thing, my brother has a long history of trouble. He's been in and out of juvie, arrested multiple times, struggled with drug use, was homeless for a while by choice, and is currently wanted in his home state for skipping court. He has no job, can't legally work, doesn't have a car or license, and has a cat and a ferret that would come with him. I live with my husband and 2 cats. My cats are not friendly with other animals, especially to anything that isn't cat-shaped, and while we technically have a spare room, it's intended to become a nursery in the future. I'm not okay bringing someone with a criminal record, no income, and unpredictable behavior into my home, let alone his animals. When I told my mom no, she pushed back. She didn't even acknowledge what I had said. She expected me to do this. I knew I wasn't getting anywhere, so I said I'd talk to my husband, but not to get her hopes up. Later, after talking and expressing how much I did not want him in our house, my husband messaged my mother and shut it down. He explained that we're not in a financial position to take anyone in right now. I just started a new job after being unemployed for almost a year, and we don't feel safe or comfortable with the idea. He pointed out everything I mentioned above, the criminal history, the extra animals, the fact that he wouldn't be contributing to bills or rent, and the general lack of trust. My brother has a history of violence. We said no. Her response: I get it. I completely understand. Like really? You couldn't have said that to me when I said no? Bruh. The kicker, after texting with my brother throughout this, I realized that he didn't even ask to stay with me. Our mom offered it to him and said she'd talk to me first. She made it sound like this was his idea, but it wasn't. After we declined, I texted my brother and told him, gently, that we weren't able to take him in, and explained that it was due to his past and the animal situation. He seemed to understand, but later that night, he kept texting me sporadically, saying how badly he needed help, that he just wants to feel safe, that everyone around him, his parents and our younger brother, is awful and racist, which was incredibly disheartening to hear since we are white, and my husband is Hispanic. Those are not the kind of people I want to associate with. It was so chaotic and overall made me feel guilty that I wouldn't take him in, but I held my ground. I've worked too hard to get to a stable place in my life, and I'm not willing to risk that, or my relationship, to take on someone else's crisis. At this point, I'm honestly ready to cut off contact with my mother and her entire side of the family. They've always been rooted in chaos and drama, and this situation just solidified what I already knew. I don't want any part of it. There's a lot more that's happened over the years that led me to this place, but this whole ordeal was the final straw. So, Aita for refusing to let him stay and for cutting contact with my mom after she tried to manipulate me into taking him in. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Stop hesitating. Block them all and move on. Why invite drama and possible criminal activity into your life? You owe these strangers nothing. Commenter 2, solution. You block his number. You block mom's number. She just earned herself no contact. And so did he. You will effectively ghost her like your Casper. Commenter 3, you reconnect with them 6 years ago, at this point they're merely acquaintances, you don't need that kind of drama in your life. Your brother even have your number only when he needs something from you, and trying to guilt trip you. Update. So, I decided not to block my brothers because I still want a relationship with them if possible. However, I did block my mother and her husband. She ended up reaching out to my sister, and my stepfather reached out to my husband asking if I was okay, saying she couldn't find my Facebook and I wasn't replying to her texts. My husband explained that the things that happened with them were just too weird and overwhelming for me. He told them he hated being the bearer of bad news, but that he hopes they can respect our decisions from here on out. Instead of taking that in, she got angry and immediately blamed my brother, saying he must have told me things he shouldn't have and that I had deleted her out of my life because of him. That same night, my brother texted me saying they were blaming him and kicking him out that night without time to find a new place. I told him it wasn't his fault, and that I came to my decision entirely on my own, with the help of you Redditors of course. I told him not to listen to our shared incubator because she likes to push off the blame onto others. I also told him I'm willing to help him get on his feet, find a place to stay, and even help with job searching, but only if he deals with his warrant first. He said he couldn't and left it at that, so I made it clear that until that's resolved, I won't be offering help. He also started trauma dumping and trying to guilt me into letting him move in again. I told him no, and he stopped. As for my mom, she told my brother she's done trying to have a relationship with me if I'm going to be all buddy-buddy with him, and then called me a blonde little bitch. All that did was solidify my decision. You can't claim to want to fix a relationship and then flip like that the moment someone sets a boundary or chooses something different. I'm done putting myself in these situations. I'm walking away from all of it. If my brother keeps trying to pressure me, he's getting blocked too. But until then, this is the end of the line. Thank you to everyone who commented and helped me get my head out of my ass. I needed that more than I realized. Top comments. Commenter 1, I can hear mom tell her we're kicking you out, she has to let you move in then. You owe them nothing. And she can't kick him out cause he's going to have residency and a whole formal eviction would be required. If they're renting and landlord finds out he's living there and not on lease, they can get evicted. And all of that is still none of your business. Cause you are not responsible for their living situations. Take care of yourself. Get back on a solid financial footing with the new job. And then you can focus on when you're ready for kids. Your mom and brothers are adults that can take care of their own issues. Commenter 2, if bro is an adult he had legal protection against getting kicked out of his home. If he is a minor, he cannot be kicked out of his home. Stories number 21. Fiancé, M30, called off our wedding a week before and left me, F30, in complete confusion. For everyone who attempted to talk some sense into me, you all have no idea how many times the comments in the original post saved me from going back and second-guessing myself. You literally saved me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. The moment I stepped back fully, I felt so much more like myself, a confident, lively, and silly version of myself. I missed her so much, and to add to it, my 31st birthday felt like a complete rebirth. Almost a year later, I'm somehow the happiest I've ever been. My entire life fell apart, and I struggled immensely, but surprise. Everything worked out. Now I'm in a new relationship, and it feels so peaceful, which took a lot of adjusting, too. The ex feels like a past life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For anyone reading this, please leave the abusive relationship. If you're questioning whether it's abusive, the odds of it being so are high. Your sanity, mental wellness, and physical health matter. Don't forget that. It does get better, not only in movies. Update, thanks to everyone for the comments and support. Since all this happened, he apologized profusely and offered to return the venue and still go and get married on the same day. He also offered couples counseling starting now and right after we get married, if I still want to. He also offered to go on the trip together to fix things. I declined to everything since the damage has been done and I decided to go on the honeymoon myself while he packs all his items. He's going to start his own therapy journey while we're broken up. I don't know what's next, but this hurts so much because we still love each other. He's going to work on his mental health to address the impulsive actions when he's upset. He also realized it wasn't actually a communication issue but rather how he felt attacked due to his own confidence. I appreciate his honesty but can't see how it's possible to forgive what happened. So, my ex-fiancé, M30, has cancelled our, F30, wedding a week before it taking place. We've been together for about 6 years and lived together for context. What happened basically was an argument that escalated. We were heading to my program graduation. It's a smaller event of about 10 students and some professors from a community college. On that morning as we were getting ready, I asked if he would be okay to wear one of his button-ups instead of the shirt he had on so we can get a nice photo. He was annoyed and snapped saying why do I have to do things for others, and I told him that he truly doesn't have to, I was just asking but it's ultimately his choice. He ended up putting the button up and we arrived at the ceremony. Everything went fine and he was very happy for me. However, on the way home in the car, traffic was filling up and he was annoyed. I offered an alternative route that I know cut some time and the exit to that route was coming up. He didn't take it and I was slightly annoyed about it because he was cranky with me about traffic. So, I asked why he didn't take it. He started full on yelling that my tone is rude and that he doesn't have to drive the way I tell him to. I replied saying that I literally just asked and I don't actually care what route he takes, he was the one having a problem with traffic. He blew up and blamed me for getting him upset. When we got home, I apologized and explained that I didn't mean to come across as mean. I also said that screaming doesn't help in any situation and that we should talk instead. He basically explained that an apology doesn't solve anything and that he needs such things to not happen, otherwise he would continue exploding at me because that's the only time I listen to him. After a few hours we spoke again. He apologized for yelling and I apologized for the miscommunication that happened. Despite resolving this, later that night, I was crying due to the fact that he so easily yells at me when he's upset. I was so upset that even on such an important day for me, I felt like he picked fights. And to add to this, yelling is such a red flag for me, and I never do that to him or anyone for that matter. The next morning we were having breakfast and he asked why I seemed gloomy, so I told him that everything's okay, I'm just processing what happened yesterday. He asked me to please share with him, so I told him that I felt like my special day was kind of ruined by fighting about things we could have easily resolved. He immediately just flipped and started getting angry again. He blamed me for the fights, and when I replied that I don't think it's fair to blame me, he got angrier and said that he can't do this, that I'm not a good communicator and that he cannot get married like this. I was full on shocked. I thought he was talking out of emotion, like many times before, but this time he actually ended up sending a mass text to some guests to let them know that the wedding is called off. I was flabbergasted at the quickness and so confused. We started arguing and then had to leave for our days. Later that day when we returned, I asked if this is truly something he wants, to call everything off, and he responded with a confident yes. What I thought was an action out of anger, seemed to be solid for him. For the rest of the night and the next day, I tried to fix things between us. After many hours of talking and lots of crying from my end, he kept explaining that I don't communicate well and that this cancellation my fault. I tried to offer some solutions, but he was full on with the decision to cancel and break up. I asked if we could give it another day or two to ensure this is what he wants before we cancel the venue. He declined and asked to cancel the venue and vendors immediately. So we did. The next day, I went on errands and then met with my friend. It was truly such a hard day and I was heartbroken, still digesting this is happening. When I came home, he asked to talk and started crying that he regrets everything he said in the last days. That he didn't mean it, he was angry and didn't think straight. He said he will start therapy and wanted to do couples counseling now too, after I offered it many times. Anyway, he apologized profusely and kept asking if we can mend everything or whether he fucked up. I was almost sure this regret would come, and honestly, maybe it was mean, but I said yeah, you fucked up big time. You made a rash decision that hurt our relationship big time. There's no going back from here. He pretty much begged for another chance, but everything is cancelled and my trust is shattered. The wedding's supposed to be in 2 days, his aunt was supposed to be on the way to our house to help us pack decorations, and now, there's no way we can schedule everything again, and frankly, I don't want to at this point. This is not the first he cancels plans or breaks up with me during a disagreement. Everyone is telling us that this is fixable, that clearly we love each other, so if we want, this situation doesn't have to be the end of the relationship. But I don't understand how. So much time, effort and money has gone into this wedding that's now done. And plus, more importantly, I can't trust him anymore. I don't know what to do at this point. We were supposed to go on honeymoon right after, so now I'm thinking on going by myself. He asked if we can go together and spend that time to fix things, but I'm just questioning everything. I think I prefer going myself to do some soul searching. Should I call this quits and move on with my life, or take his word and start couples counseling? I love him with my entire heart and we had many loving experiences between us over the years. We don't have any issues aside from such incidents, but I don't know whether it's actually possible to come back from this one. Update. You all have no idea how many times the comments in the original post saved me from going back and second guessing myself. You literally saved me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. The moment I stepped back fully, I felt so much more like myself, a confident, lively, and silly version of myself. I missed her so much, and to add to it, my 31st birthday felt like a complete rebirth. Almost a year later, I'm somehow the happiest I've ever been. My entire life fell apart, and I struggled immensely, but surprise. Everything worked out. Now I'm in a new relationship, and it feels so peaceful, which took a lot of adjusting, too. The ex feels like a past life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For anyone reading this, please leave the abusive relationship. If you're questioning whether it's abusive, the odds of it being so are high. Your sanity, mental wellness, and physical health matter. Don't forget that. It does get better, not only in movies. Stories number 22. I am in deep feelings for my male friend. Should I tell him or just keep quiet? I, 18F, have liked my male friend, 18M, for the past 3 years. We've been friends since we were like 10. Our parents and families are close friends, so that's how we met. He is the embodiment of perfect in my eyes. He's empathetic, kind, has a calm and slightly goofy demeanor, and so cute attractive. My type entirely. He is so nice to me and also has defended me from some school bullies before in the past, that's how I fell for him. He doesn't hesitate to stand up for me either. When we go to the mall or hang out with our mutual friends, he's always willing to pay for the occasional smoothie or meal. I don't accept it most times because I don't want to take advantage of his kindness. Gosh. I like him so much. Should I tell him my feelings? Or should I keep quiet? I swear rejection will cause me to dig a hole like a mole and disappear forever. Update. I told him. I know I said that I would play it cool and light-hearted, but I was too nervous. After being in the pool for an hour, we just sat inside the pool house. Our parents were in the main house cooking lunch. I had a headache, probably because I was overthinking this. My friend noticed and got me headache medicine and some water. He asked if I was alright. I ended up putting my head down and covering my face. Then I told him that I liked him more than a friend, and that I'm fine if he didn't feel the same way. He chuckled a little and ruffled my hair. He then said he liked me too. I kind of sat up and asked if he was telling the truth. He said he liked me for a while, but didn't want to tell me in case I didn't like him. Now we've made some plans to hang out tomorrow. Just the two of us. So, a date? I am too nervous and excited at the same time. And tell me why both of our parents just smirked when we walked out of the pool house. Anyway, thanks for the advice. Now, can anyone give some advice on how to act on a first date? I have never been on a date before. Do I hold his hand? I am willing to pay for myself, but maybe he wants to pay. This seems really complicated. Stories number 23. Aita for choosing my 19-year-old niece over my brother by allowing her to live with me. My brother Vince, 40s, is the father to two daughters. Kia, 19, and Lily, 7. Kia has lived with my family for more than a year now, and allowing her to live with us has stained the relationship with my brother to a breaking point and created tension within my wider family. Kia and Lily's mom Beth died just after giving birth to Lily. During Beth's pregnancy with Lily, she was diagnosed with a heart condition that weakened her. There were plans to deliver Lily early so that she and Beth had the best chance. Vince asked Beth to wait longer so that Lily had a better chance. Kia and my parents were around to hear this discussion, and when Beth died hours after Lily was born, Kia blamed Vince. And then when Vince remarried within a year of Beth's death, and when his new wife, Michelle, 40s, adopted Lily, it destroyed any relationship Kia had left with her Vince. Vince had promised Beth that he would make sure Lily knew who she was always if something happened. But after Michelle adopted Lily, they began talking like Michelle was her biological mother. Michelle would tell Lily even as a young toddler that the day she was born was the best day of her life, or how happy she and Vince were when they had Lily. There are people who were under the assumption that Kia's mom died and Lily was Michelle's biological child. Kia fought a lot with Vince and Michelle. She told her dad she hated him and that he betrayed her mom. She blamed him for her mom's death, shamed him for erasing and replacing Beth with Michelle and giving her mom's daughter to Michelle. She wished he'd been the one to die instead of her mom. She told Michelle she hoped Beth haunted her every day for stealing Lily. They punished her a lot because they didn't want Lily to hear and figure out what was going on. She was not allowed to talk about Beth to Lily, and they stopped the girls spending time together because they knew Kia would tell Lily the truth. I was always super close to Kia and was there for her when most of our wider family were more in support of Vince and Michelle and Lily. I got some shit for that because I was reminded that Vince lost his wife and was left with two girls to raise, and that Michelle was just trying to love Lily and give her a mom and was being tormented by a teenager because of it. But I could see Kia's side, and I still think Vince has handled this all so badly. They might all argue that this is better for Lily, but she'll have to know someday, and I have to imagine there could very well be a lot of pain for her when she realizes the truth. I think there's a very real chance Lily and Kia will never be capable of being close. When Kia turned 18, she asked if she could live with me and my husband and our kids. We said yes. I was happy to have her come stay, and I knew it was better than her being on her own. But as I mentioned, this was not something Vince approved of, and he wanted me to kick Kia out. I refused. We didn't speak for months, and when he heard from another one of our siblings that Kia was still with me, he reached back out and told me I had chosen Kia over him, my own brother. He sent me a text exchange between him and Kia where she told him that his happiness wasn't deserved and he should have stayed single forever after what he did to her mom. He told me that was what I was supporting, and I told him I wasn't kicking Kia out and to quit trying. My parents told me I could help Kia find somewhere else and not divide the family like this. I asked how they could punish their own granddaughter after everything. They said Vince only wanted the best chance for Lily and that Kia has been grossly unfair about this whole thing. They told me I was being unfair to Vince and to our family, and I'm helping to divide us. Stories number 24. Nothing like finally getting engaged to the love of your life, and planning your wedding, only to find that a sentimental detail is gone because of transphobic parents. TW, transphobia, intentionally misgendering myself once in the first sentence, may be uncomfortable for some people. When I was a little girl, my Oma and my girl cousins and I sat around and talked about our future weddings, and what we would want our dresses to look like, and bouquets, and future husbands, number of kids. I was not super engaged in the conversation, but I was included. But my Oma knew how to draw me in, because we bonded over our mutual love of stuffed animals, something that has followed me into adulthood. She had hand-me-downs for all the other little girls in the family to give them for their wedding days, jewelry, hand mirrors, other trinkets, shoes or handbags. They shopped in her vast closet all day and I sat in her room and played with the stuffed animals. And she asked me if I wanted a tiny, palm-sized stuffed white mouse to put in my bouquet when I got married. It would be about the size of a peony bloom. Lightweight, and the right size not to crush the flowers. I was immediately obsessed. She gave the mouse to my mom for safekeeping. My mom held on to the mouse and I would pull it out and hold it reverently and inspect it and make sure it was clean and knew it was being saved for a special day. Then, in high school, I came out as trans. And suddenly, I wasn't my parents' barely tolerated eldest daughter, because let's face it, we had problems then too, but their openly disliked trans son. And as soon as they could was their hands of me, they did. And I wasn't allowed to take Oma's mouse with me when I left. I didn't think about it because when I moved out I didn't have blushing bride to be in the forefront of my mind. My parents are not even willing to mail me my birth certificate to help me leave the country safely right now. I'm sure the stuffed mouse is out of the question. I'm still not a blushing bride, and I'm not going to marry one. My future husband and I want to have a in memorial bouquet with the mouse in it on a table at our wedding, next to our take a kippa, just for today. We promise they don't bite basket. I wanted to just replace the mouse, because I know where she bought it originally, but it's discontinued. They're available online but I'm having a hard time finding one that isn't used and worn looking. I just have grief. We don't even have a date yet. We haven't even started planning or anything official. This was my literal first wedding planning thought anyway. Thanks for listening. Cheers, it all has to get better from here. None of my side of the family is even invited, LMAO. Comments. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry you're going through all of this when you're supposed to be having one of the best seasons in your life. I hope you can take comfort in the fact that your Oma loved you so much. If you want to post a picture of one of the mouse stuffiest or the name of it or anything, I can try to help you find one. I'm glad you're creating a new family. Reply, it's ridiculous. It is so silly, because it's not an impossible task. I haven't searched high and low or anything, but I have balked at spending $24 to $50 on a 99-cent plush, and it's not about the cost and I don't know why I'm stuck on it. I think it's because I want my mouse, not someone else's second-hand used mouse they still think is worth $50 just because it's discontinued now. Image. Commenter 2, this is super random and it might not scratch the itch for you, but I'm a lesbian who knits sews. I can make you a mouse like that. Maybe that'll feel better to you than buying it from a stranger, community stepping in for family, all that. My DMs are closed because I don't like Rondo's DMing me, but if you feel like that'd be a solution that would fix this for you, just respond to this comment. I'll open my DMs, you can give me some more info about the mouse, and we can figure out the details from there, maybe embroider your spouse's initials onto it somewhere, add a little rainbow, a tiny bow tie, whatever. I also see your use of Oma, and if it's any solace, I'm German. So in a way, you'd be getting it from someone from the same cultural background who can kinda understand what your Oma would have been like. Reply, this is an incredibly sweet offer, and I saw it right after someone in Europe found one for a very palatable price. If that comes through, I'm gonna be so excited. I haven't heard back from them. I think I kinda wanna see what you come up with regardless. It's such a lovely offer, and we haven't set a date yet, so there's no urgency, and when community rallies together, my mouse can have a friend and they can be gay mice. Symbolic if it's all the same to you, that is. Commenter 3, sure thing. I'm assuming you're in Germany? If so, same, which would make shipping pretty easy. If there's no date set and no urgency, we can absolutely make something work. Depending on how important it is to you to have an exact copy of that model of mouse, versus just a mouse, I might not even have to buy any materials. I've allowed your username to inbox message me, hope that worked. Shoot me a DM, we can have a chat about this. Reply, I am actually in the US LOL, but it's complicated, please DM me. Commenter 4, not sure if you're interested, but if you want a mom who loves you just the way you are at the wedding let me know. Reply, thank you so much, what a very sweet and kind offer. Light skin tone emoji modifier. My fiancé and I laugh, I have no loving family, but as the child of amicable divorce, my partner has 4 loving parents who co-parented really cohesively and continue to do so. That means he entered the relationship with enough family for both of us because between the parents and the 7 siblings, it averages out to a normal amount of in-laws for a couple to have. They're just all of his side. However, they feel like my family already, the way they've embraced me. I feel very fortunate in that way. Commenter 5, I actually have one of these. DM me. I am in Finland, but it is so light, he could fly. Reply, I have had my mice accomplished. I have too. Headed toward me. If you would still very much like to send one, I am accepting them as a symbol of how community has embraced us when my family did not, and I am thinking about writing a small sign of explanation of how we lost the original mouse to time. I just don't even want to think about my nasty family, and wonderful people around the world saved our day to source replacements for us. I am of the opinion that the more the merrier, but I have the mice I need to have my perfect day, and to memorialize my Oma. If your mouse will be missed, please keep it in your home. Edit. 3. Wonderful people have found solutions to my mouse problem, when initially I came here primarily to grieve in a community who would not focus on the trans part, but rather the mouse part. I even have been offered a solution that includes something so meaningful and moving that I am not mentioning it in this edit because I want it to be a surprise and I don't want my fiancé to accidentally spoil it for himself if he finds this post. I am in absolute tears, and I'm not the easy crier in this relationship. Thank you folks so much, words cannot express. Edit 2. I have now received offers of 5 mice, which has reminded me of the strength of community in times that have felt quite bleak recently. Because of that, I would like to extend invitations to any Gosig mouse who would like to attend my wedding as a visual reminder that family are the people who show up for you, no matter what that ends up looking like. We will be including a small sign explaining that our original mouse was lost to time, to avoid addressing my lousy family, and that people from our community from around the world wanted to help make sure my Oma was honored and our day was perfect regardless. I am of course happy to pay travel expenses, shipping, for any mouse who would like to attend our wedding. Please do not feel obligated, as I have substantially more mice than anticipated and more than I needed. My heart is full. I am only telling my fiancé about 1 mouse, and the rest will be a surprise to him on our wedding day. Comments. Commenter 1, Hi. We're in the fountain pen community together, so I just want to say Mazel Tov. On your engagement, from another queer Jew who has inky fingers. Reply, thank you so much. This post that I typed up in a moment of just cranky grief on the very first day of wedding planning has brought me such unexpected joy in community in unexpected places. Commenter 2, your Oma's love is always with you, even though you won't have the mouse. Reply, but the beautiful thing is, we will have mice. Not the original one, but very lovingly gifted replacements from this community. I cannot put into words how surprised and grateful I am to the wonderful and thoughtful people here who are stepping in to be the helpers my family just aren't. Commenter 3, I'm late to the post but I'm so glad that others have been able to help you. This is a heartbreaking and senseless loss, senseless because the reasoning behind it is one purely of hate. I'm so sorry you've been experiencing this grief, and that you're being impacted by asterisk gestures at all of the everything. Reply, this has gone from just wanting a way to honor and remember my Oma, to a way to do that, and so much more. I don't feel robbed at all anymore. This adds so much to my experience and my special day. It's not what I would have planned, it's not what Oma would have planned, and certainly not what she would have wanted. She celebrated me for who I am, but it would not have transpired if my parents weren't, the way they are. I have spent a lot of this year crying about how devoid of family I feel, and people keep telling me about found family, and I have never connected with that in concept, but I think this is part of what that means. My larger queer community is doing what my family should be but refuse to, helping make sure my wedding day has the special details to feel perfect, just like I always imagined since I was a little kid. And everyone is doing it so selflessly. Commenter 4, it's no less than you deserve. I wish you and your future husband a beautiful wedding day and a wonderful life together. Reply, well, good news, we have already checked one of those boxes. I moved to his state to flee DV, and get back on my feet a few years ago and met him some months after. He has patiently and gently transformed how I think about myself, and helped me build safety and independence, even outside of him. Now, we have a beautiful home, my dogs adore him and he adores them, no small feat, they're high-drive high-energy working dogs and can be intense to people used to companion dogs, and I have never felt so comfortable and understood in a friendship let alone a romantic relationship. We have learned how to integrate and navigate my trauma from growing up with total loser parents with the help of therapy, and patient practice. This is definitely the most beautiful season of my life, and not because it's been easy or free from pain or difficult periods. I'm sure we will check off the other item too, smiley face. Comment. I have rather lost count of how many are arriving at this very moment, which is incredible in its own right. I have been weeping all year because of how much I miss my Oma, and how much I wish I could talk to her, and this feels like a hug from her, with the help from strangers, even before the wedding. Title, Update to a sentimental detail my parents tried to rob from me. Last time I came to this subreddit, it was to share my grief as I was in the very beginning stages of planning my wedding to my beloved. When I was a child, my Oma gave me a tiny stuffed mouse to be part of my wedding bouquet as a symbol of our relationship for my something borrowed. I shared how my parents held onto it for safekeeping as I grew up, and when I came out as transgender, my parents felt I no longer deserved the stuffed mouse at my wedding. I came to share how heartbreaking the estrangement from my family is during the time in my life that should be shared with my loved ones. I came to whine that my admittedly lazy search online to replace my stuffed mouse turned up expensive or subpar substitutes. I expected others to share similar stories of lackluster family, and maybe give creative ideas on how to honor my Oma's memory another way. Instead, the wonderful people in this community overwhelmed me with an outpouring of kindness and support. I had people source me exact substitutions for my Oma's mouse, and offers to mail them to me from around the world, over 3 continents. I even have had 2 people offer to hand-make replica mice. I have stuffed mice flooding my mailbox, and I am so overwhelmed with gratitude and have no words for the impact this has to me right now. I intend to create a display with all the mice, and a little map of where each came from, and a memorial bouquet, explaining that the original mouse was lost to time but that our international queer community has embraced us in a time of need to remind us that there are wonderful people everywhere despite everything. After our wedding, I plan on putting them in a shadow box and framing them somewhere in our home. There are still mice on their way to me, one is hanging out with my best man, and another is with a friend of mine closer to where we are about to move. I'm just floored. Thank you all, truly, for all your kind words, your mice, and the reminder that family are the people who show up for you, not the people who give you genetic material. Image, a cute group of stuffed mice. Comments. Commenter, oh my god, this is amazing. How special OML. Reply, I know, I just don't even know what to say. I have been fastidiously keeping the whole thing a secret from my partner. The mice are all hidden on my shelf in our playroom. It's off limits. Commenter, I remember your post, it was heartbreaking. I hope this experience helps you be kinder to yourself. You deserve it. Reply, it's reminding me that my family's approval is actually not a goal of mine, and that joy is everywhere if I look for it. Commenter, this is adorable. I'm sorry for what your parents have put you through. Are you still accepting IKEA mice for your mouse table? Reply, the more the merrier. We are months yet from the big day, and I still have room in my mouse stash. Until I run out of places to hide mice from my partner, I will gladly accept additional mice. Please send me a DM if you would like to coordinate mouse travel. Commenter, full body goosebump. While I am deeply sorry for the pain you feel from the heartache your family has caused, I am delighted that the entire world joined forces to cheer you on. Congratulations. Reply, thank you. I have my Oma who was very progressive and always proud of me for me, and even when I left my family, she made sure I knew that. Commenter, my first thought was gay rats, but I spend too much time on the internet. I'm so glad people came through for you. Reply, they can be gay rats for you. IKEA calls them rats very technically if you want to mince hairs. I thought of them as mice, but they're apparently listed as rats. My partner and I are gay. Close enough for me. Stories number 25. Aita for asking my partner stop telling me to lower your volume. Sometimes when I get excited about a topic, I naturally start speaking louder than usual. Not shouting, just louder than normal conversation level. The thing is, I don't realize I'm doing it in the moment. When this happens, my partner will often interrupt me mid-sentence to ask me to lower my volume. I don't think they mean it in a rude way, and I understand that they probably just want the conversation to stay at a comfortable volume. That's fair, but every time it happens, I feel demoralized, and a little self-conscious. I lose my enthusiasm and no longer feel like talking about the thing I was excited about. Even if they don't mean it harshly, it still feels dismissive and discouraging. I've tried to explain how it makes me feel, but they still keep interrupting me. Am I the asshole for wanting them to stop interrupting me like that? Or do I just need to accept that I should keep my volume in check? Even if it's hard because I don't always realize when I'm doing it. Stories number 26. Whipped for telling me girlfriend she can't frog it around me anymore. So my girlfriend eats popcorn by frogging it, which means she picks up a handful, brings it up to her mouth and sticks out her tongue to quickly pull pieces into her mouth. The first time I saw her do this I was very confused and a little put off. I asked her what she was doing and she just said I'm frogging it. I thought it was kinda cute, if a little silly, but didn't think much else of it at the time. I did not realize that she was utterly incapable of eating popcorn in any other way. I think it's gross and weird. It seems silly, but the sounds and visuals are very childlike to me, which is very off-putting, especially because when she frogs it she'll often giggle in a very unnaturally for her, high-pitched way if she drops a piece of popcorn or one falls off her tongue while she does it. She already isn't the most mature person who ever lived, and she definitely leans into being pretty quirky, which I really like about her, but can also kinda slip into childishness. I know that watching New Girl was very formative to her, so I don't know if the whole frogging it thing is from that show or whatever. I've asked her to please eat popcorn like a normal person around me, but she rolls her eyes and tells me that I don't have a say in how she eats anything. Which is fair in theory, but listening to her mouth smacking for 45 plus minutes every time we watch TV or a movie, a couple times a week, is beginning to have an adverse effect on my mental health. I'm at the end of my rope here, there is only so much frogging a man can take. Will I be the asshole if I unequivocally tell her she can't do her hellish popcorn ritual around me? She can do it all she wants when I'm not in the room, I just can't deal with hearing it anymore. Comments. Commenter. Will I be the asshole if I unequivocally tell her she can't do her hellish popcorn ritual around me? She can do it all she wants when I'm not in the room, I just can't deal with hearing it anymore. And how do you think you're going to enforce this? She has already told you that you can't tell her how to eat. Esh. I don't know why you're so fixated on this, and I don't know why she thinks it's necessary to eat that way. Reply, that's fair. Honestly, I'm not sure how I would enforce that. I think the fixation somewhat comes from the mouth sounds. I have a bit of misophonia, and the lip smacking she does is awful to listen to. As for why she insists on eating that way, I have no idea. The most generous interpretation I have is that she just really has fun doing it and doesn't want to stop. The most uncharitable view is that she's purposefully doing it to annoy me, but that's incredibly unlike her, so I wouldn't bet on that. Commenter. It seems that popcorn, and how she eats it, is more important to each of you than the relationship. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to be together. Reply, I get where you're coming from saying that we're incompatible. I know that this is a really common thing to say, but our relationship is good outside of this. We have fun together and have adventures and love each other. She's genuinely my favorite person to be around, and I love almost everything about her. She's incredibly smart, is a super talented artist, and has a magnetic personality. I can't speak for her, but I think she feels the same way, and I don't think that either of us consider this something that we'd break up over. Commenter. YTB. She's just eating in a way that makes her happy. If you hate it so much you can leave when she does it. Reply, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not as simple as just leaving the room when she does it. It only bothers me when she does it while we're watching TV together. We're usually cuddling or right next to each other. We both really like spending time with each other like this and would both be pretty bummed if we had to cut it out completely. Commenter. NTA. Can she really not eat like a normal person just to make her partner a little bit more comfortable? That seems like a reasonable accommodation to ask for. Partners are supposed to be nice to each other, surely she can avoid doing that for the sake of you. Reply, she's really typically not like this. For some reason, which after reading the comments is pretty ridiculous, this has been the hill to die on for both of us. She's a really awesome person and great partner outside of this. One of the top commenters, sounds like you need a less interesting girlfriend. Let her be her true self, stop trying to dim her light. Reply, I definitely don't want to dim her light, I just want her to stop doing this one thing around me. I get how it might read like I don't like her or that I want her to change. I'm fine with her frogging it as long as I'm not there. Commenter. YTB. Just ignore it if it bothers you, bro. Reply, I was previously able to ignore it when it was a couple times a month, but it's recently become more and more common and become a bit unmanageable for me. I do wish I could just ignore it though. Commenter. YTA. Because if you think someone is immature and you want to change them, you shouldn't be with them. You describe your GF as quirky in a way that comes off as really condescending and not at all affectionate. If you have misophonia, perhaps popcorn shouldn't be part of shared movie rituals because it is a noisy food, but you needn't dictate how she enjoys it when she does eat it. Reply, oof, I definitely don't want to be condescending. I just wanted to explain that I don't think she's doing this out of malice or even putting that much thought into it at all. I can see how my post reads like I don't much like her, be assured that I do really love her. I think I need to communicate that to her better. I really appreciate your comment. Another top commenter, finds quirky girl to date, thinks it's cute. Then immediately tries to get her to stop being quirky. Just go find someone you actually like, instead of trying to snuff the fire out of this one. Reply, I mean, do I encourage her quirky habits a lot? I primarily finance her different art stuff, have a ton of fun listening to her explain obscure YouTube drama, I see her in every performance I can, I drive her places because she doesn't have a license, I listen to her random morning singing, and I love the way that she sees the world. I definitely get how people are getting the impression that I don't like my girlfriend though. I really didn't mean for my post to come across like that because I love my girlfriend more than anything in the world. Edit, just coming in to clear up some things. Misophonia. Yes, I have misophonia, but it's not the primary driver of my frustration, which is how this situation keeps repeating itself. My girlfriend, I do actually love my girlfriend a lot. I know it really doesn't seem like it, and I totally get why people think I don't deserve her, but I really do think she's the greatest woman in the world. I also don't think she's doing this to upset me, or why this is our hill to die on. Alternative snacks. I do always have alternate snacks like pretzel rolls, mixed nuts, berries, fruit, chips, all that good stuff. These are all foods that my girlfriend loves and that I take care in providing. She'll still choose popcorn over these foods, as is her right, but also that is kind of frustrating for me personally. Overreaction, yep. I definitely think I've let this build up for too long without having a proper sit-down conversation with my girlfriend. I'm going to take the rest of the day to really go through my thoughts and figure out what I'm actually feeling and how to properly convey that to my girlfriend in a way that doesn't make her feel that I think less of her or want to change her. When she gets home this evening we'll talk it out. Thank you to everyone who commented and messaged, you all gave me some great perspective and I really appreciate it. I 100% would be wrong to dictate what my girlfriend can do and I've definitely been approaching this in the wrong way. Update post. I'm 26, GF is 28. I forgot to put that in my original post and only updated my AITA post with our ages. Thankfully I am not a 40-year-old shocked at the immaturity of his 18-year-old girlfriend or anything like that. Editor's note, several commenters projected that onto this situation. My girlfriend can technically drive but she doesn't have a license, that's why I drive her around. If there's one thing she hates more than driving it's breaking the law. I finance her hobbies because I make more than her. We equally share bills and rent but I pay for most things outside of that. She's got debts to pay off and savings to build up and anything I can do to make that easier I want to do. Update. After my girlfriend got home from work and had a chance to catch her breath and settle in I sat her down and we had a really good conversation. Here's the short version. She didn't realize how much her frogging it bothered me and had I explained that better in a less annoyed tone, she would have stopped a long time ago. Many moments during our relationship that I chalked up to her being immature childish were her intentionally messing with me. In retrospect that makes a lot of sense. She's going to now default to assuming I'm serious rather than joking and I'm going to be more clear when I am being serious. When I showed her this post she agreed that the way I wrote it makes me sound like a controlling dickhead who hates his girlfriend. She doesn't think I represented the story, her, or myself in a very accurate coherent way and I have to agree there. I promise I'm a vaguely normal guy most of the time. She was delighted that people were planning on adopting the term frogging it and has been very happily parading around calling herself a food innovator and threatening to quit her job and become a food blogger. She also says to the people offering to take her off my hands that she respectfully declines but if you're ever in Orlando, I think we're going to be okay. We're removing popcorn from our movies nights but not our cupboards or our hearts, We're gonna look into some couples counseling to better our communication and I'm going to reach out to my former psychiatrist and therapist to see if either of them have someone to recommend for individual therapy. Thank you again to everyone who lent me their time and energy. Stories number 27. AITA for not putting my husband's sisters in my will. My husband, 47M, and I, 40F, recently got our estate planning done. We worked with a lawyer to draft wills where the entirety of our estate would go to the surviving spouse. Each of our wills then say that if the spouse is deceased it would go to our respective family members. My will says that if my husband is dead then my assets pass to my sister. My husband's will says that if I am dead then his estate would go to his two sisters. My husband gave a copy of his will to his parents and they started asking about my will. My husband told them about the way my will is set up. They got incredibly angry that I did not include his two older sisters in my will. I am not close with either of his sisters and they are each independently wealthy. My husband now wants me to change my will to split my estate between my sister and his two siblings. I don't know why I need to do this as neither of his sisters' wills include me as a beneficiary if my husband is dead. I don't want to create tension in the family but I really don't want to do this. I'm considering going along with the change and then if he dies just change it back. Aita. Stories number 28. I, 24M, caught my girlfriend, 23F, sleeping in bed with her male friend, 25M, after she told me she wouldn't. My girlfriend and I have been together 3 years, and for the past year we've lived together in a studio apartment in a major US city. My girlfriend has a close male friend from college who lives a couple states away, and apparently he was going to be coming to our city on Memorial Day weekend to go to a convention. She asked if he could stay over in our apartment to save money and so they could hang out more. I was already planning to do a solo visit to see family that weekend, so I wouldn't be around. I asked about sleeping arrangements, she said she'd get an air mattress for him to sleep on. So, that was last weekend. I went to see family like I had planned and her friend stayed at our place with her. She texted me a couple of pictures from the convention, so I know they did both go. I told my GF I'd be back Monday afternoon, but I decided to leave a bit early and got back Monday at around 8 a.m. I walked in, the air mattress was crumpled up in the corner, and my GF and her male friend were sleeping together in our bed. This obviously caused a huge blow-up. I am not proud, but I did yell at her, because it was such a huge shock to walk in and see that. She told me she didn't do anything, the air mattress started leaking and she didn't feel like going out at midnight to try and fix it, and it should be obvious that nothing inappropriate happened because he was above the covers and she had a pillow between them. The guy said nothing happened, I told him to let me look through his bag to see if he brought condoms and he basically said, piss off, and left. Now it's the following weekend and everything is still tense. I don't know if my GF cheated or not and what to do. She is angry that I am accusing her of cheating and says she's sorry for not texting me about it at the time but she didn't think it was a big deal. I pumped up the air mattress and it does have a little hole in it, but it could have been made on purpose. I don't know what to think. TLDR, caught GF sleeping in bed with male friend after I returned home early from visiting family. She is defending herself and is pointing out various circumstances as to why nothing happened, but I don't know. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Do y'all not own a couch? Reply. We don't, just a bed and an armchair. It's a very small apartment. Commenter 2. Come on man, if you are going to sit there and accuse her of making it leak on purpose, then you just need to break up because you will never, ever trust her again. Reply. It might not sound like it but I am really trying hard to convince myself that nothing happened. But if you have never walked in on your girlfriend in bed with another man, you can't understand what it feels like to see it and how quickly it shatters trust. Commenter 3. I don't understand what the big deal is. Air mattresses leak all the time. You have a crumpled, leaking air mattress in the room. You admit you don't have a couch. Where was the friend supposed to sleep? Did you walk in on them in flagrante delicto? No, you didn't. She was sharing a bed with her friend with obstacles between them. You need to seriously apologize and evaluate your issues with jealousy. You don't own her. Update. So, you guys convinced me that the situation that my girlfriend was describing was true. I came around on the fact that it was really paranoid of me to think that they deliberately put a hole in an air mattress and concocted that whole sleeping situation with him over the covers and the pillow separator just in case I got home early. Basically, I feel like if she actually did cheat she would have just had him sleep on the air mattress after. I apologized to my girlfriend and called her friend and apologized for acting like a jealous freak. I got a pretty lukewarm response from both. I tried to go back to normal over the next couple weeks but my girlfriend was cold towards me. I tried to initiate a conversation but all I got was if you don't trust me, why should I trust you? This past weekend, she broke up with me. She went through my phone while I was in the shower and found some texts from a boneheaded one-time mistake I made over 2 years ago, and that was enough for her. She has gone to live with a friend in our city until we can work out what to do about the apartment. We're both on the lease, and neither of us can afford to live here by ourselves, and it's a studio so we can't just bring in another roommate. So, not the happiest update. Now I'm trying to figure out where I am going to live and kind of wishing I had never even opened my stupid mouth. TLDR, I apologized but the damage was done. GF snooped through my phone and broke up with me. Now I'm trying to sort out the housing situation. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I mean, you got mad at her for supposedly cheating, yet you cheated yourself. Of course it was enough for her. You're downplaying what you did. Reply. I will say that I never carried on an affair with another girl. It was literally one mistake, one moment in time, 2 years ago. Yes, it was hypocritical of me, but I honestly felt that it was kinder not to tell her and to commit to being a better boyfriend rather than break her heart over something that did not have to define us. And we did have 2 wonderful years together that would have likely continued if it weren't for this incident, which I take responsibility for. I just feel like we both could have been happy, but I let a moment of paranoid jealousy get the better of me and now neither of us are happy. Commenter 2. How dare you make it seem like you did this for her? She had the right to know what you did and make an informed decision whether she wanted to continue to date a cheater or not. Most likely she now feels those 2 years were wasted when she could have been finding someone loyal who respects her. Sure, she's sad now but she will be happy and find someone worthy of her trust. Commenter 3. This is hilarious and awful, for her. So you try and make out that she concocted this crazy elaborate scheme to cheat on you, piercing the air mattress, setting up pillows, and you're the one who cheated. What a joke. No sympathy here mate. Also the way you word things, it says a lot about you. That was enough for her. She found proof of you cheating and you belittle it and yet you actually did cheat. Stories number 29. Aita for telling my girlfriend's parents about her emotional affair when her dad asked about marriage. I, 26M, have been with my girlfriend, 24F, for about 3 years. A little over a month ago, I found conversation screenshots on her laptop which showed that she had been emotionally cheating on me with her coworker for several weeks. The screenshots had things like, she wishes she met him before me, how she has never felt this connected to someone. I did not confront her right away because I knew that I needed time to understand my feelings. We were scheduled to go on vacation to her parents' lake house that weekend with the family, so I decided that it would be best to go on vacation and then break up with her after. While we were there, her coworker kept texting her. Every time she got a text, she was smiling at her phone, and kept making excuses to walk away to talk. Her parents were noticing the situation and asked if everything was okay between us, to which I said yes. On the last night of our vacation, her dad took me aside and asked when I was going to make an honest woman out of her. I told him that it was never going to happen because she is cheating on me with her coworker. Her mom overheard me and started crying, her dad looked shocked, and my girlfriend walked in and saw everyone's faces and asked what happened. Her dad told her that I had aired their dirty laundry. She was furious at me for not talking to her about it first and for telling her family about it. She keeps telling me what I saw was just friendship between her and her coworker and that I misunderstood everything. Now she is telling everyone that I betrayed her privacy by looking at her laptop and humiliated her in front of her family, but she left it open on our shared desk. Stories number 30. Aita for refusing to split an expensive birthday dinner bill evenly. A few nights ago, I went to a birthday dinner in San Francisco for a friend. There were about 10 of us. I don't drink alcohol and I don't eat red meat. When we got there, one person, not the birthday girl, took it upon herself to order for the whole table, deciding we'd eat family style. I found out when I tried to place my order and the server told me someone had already ordered for us. I explained I'm a pescatarian and asked to order separately. I ended up getting a $23 pasta and a $10 mocktail. When the food came and it became clear that it was way too much. 2 giant meat and seafood platters, multiple appetizers, desserts. Most people had several $20 plus cocktails. One person didn't eat anything because she said she couldn't afford to eat out but wanted to come for the vibes. Another person ate and left early. The woman who ordered everything put it on her card and took home all the leftovers, which were a lot. A few days later, the birthday girl told us the bill came out to over $1,000 and we were each expected to pay $150. I said no, I only ordered a $23 entree and a $10 drink. Birthday girl said she understood and offered to let me pay $100 instead, but was clearly disappointed. She said the expectation at group dinners is everyone splits evenly, like it's the cost of entry to share the experience. I told her I think that's unfair and presumptuous. Why should people be expected to subsidize others' expensive tastes, especially when they didn't agree to a shared meal, didn't drink, and ordered conservatively? I get that the server probably oversold us and that the person who ordered for the table had good intentions. And maybe I should have said something at the start, but I didn't expect things to go so sideways. Now the birthday girl is mortified because her friend who fronted the bill might be left with a big chunk of it, and she, the birthday girl, just lost her job. I feel like this situation was created by poor planning, assumptions, and lack of communication, none of which were my fault. Aita for standing my ground and refusing to pay more than what I ate. Edit for some additional context, this was my first time meeting nearly everyone at this table. I only knew 2 people, birthday girl and another friend. I was visiting from out of town and the rest of the folks at the table were birthday girl's friends who also live in San Francisco. This has never happened to me before. I have never received pushback from my friends when I ask to itemize the check, since the friends I do dinners with know I am sober, and I don't order expensive dishes. The over $1,000 was including the tax and tip. It was not exactly $1,000, it was over $1,000. However, we never received an itemized check for the meal, despite asking for it. I believe it was left at the restaurant and the person who paid the check just kept the signed customer copy with the final amounts, but not the itemized. The person who showed up for the vibes and did not eat was not included amongst the folks that were splitting the bill. And it out that the person who ordered for the table did indeed ask the folks sitting around her if they should order family style. I was all the way at the other end of the table and did not hear this conversation take place, neither did 3 people around me, including the woman who left early, who by the way decided she will only pay for what she consumed because she felt that was fair. Birthday girl is displeased and now is questioning her friendship with her. Birthday girl now feels responsible for covering part of the gap that was left behind by the woman who bounced early and paid itemized. So far, it seems like I am the only one who offered to pay any of the birthday girl's meal. I think others were taken aback by how expensive this came out to. Not sure. This all is just not sitting well either me, I feel taken advantage of. Edit. Most of us were going somewhere else after dinner and didn't want to carry leftovers with us, but if I had known how expensive it was going to be, I would have taken some food with me. Stories number 31. Aita for demanding that my husband and I go on video consenting to an opening relationship before allowing one. I've been debating about actually posting this for a while, but since I don't feel comfortable about discussing this with family or friends, I thought I'd come here anonymously. I, 35F, have been with my husband, 35M, since we were 15 in high school and married him at 25 after our first child was born. We are each other's only partner for everything, and I thought we were good until my husband told me that we weren't. It all started when our first child 10F was born and the dynamics of our relationship went through a shift. I admit that it was a bit of a challenge, but I thought we were doing okay until I got pregnant a second time and we had our twins 6M and 6M. It was rough in between child rearing, both working, taking care of the home, and struggling to save for a bigger place. I honestly started to wonder if we'd make it. We went to counseling, and once all kids were in school I felt like my husband and I were going to be okay. We moved into our house, we got a handle on our student loans, got help with child care, received respective employment advances, and were able to make monthly date nights for each other where we could just focus on us. It wasn't perfect, but I truly believed that we were good. Then one day my husband approached me about wanting to bring more excitement into the relationship. At first I thought he just wanted to spice things up, which I was down for, and we did, but then he started to drop little hints about wanting more and asking me if I ever had any regrets about when we met. It took a while for me to be honestly with both him and myself, but I finally admitted that there were certain I wish we could have done differently, and he seized that moment to bring up opening up the marriage. I was shocked, confused, hurt, and the thought of cheating entered my mind. He assured me that it wasn't and sent me articles and videos about ethical non-monogamy, but I wasn't initially open to it. Unfortunately, my husband didn't stop and kept pestering me about it to the point where it would ruin our date nights, and after a year I relented just to get it over with, but insisted on some ground rules. One of them being that I wanted us both to sit down together and record ourselves consenting to allowing the other to have a partner. When my husband asked why, I showed him a post about a woman who was in an open relationship with her husband, and one day while she was out with her boyfriend a relative of the husband saw, took pictures, and then confronted the wife with the entire family. They accused her of cheating and her husband just let her take the fall. I don't ever want to be in that position, but my husband dismissed it, saying that what happened to her won't happen to us and that no one else needs to be in our relationship, which I found laughably ironic. I told him no video confirmation of consent, then no open relationship. My husband thinks I'm being paranoid, unreasonable, selfish, unfair and unwilling to compromise. Update, Aita for demanding that my husband and I go on video consenting to an opening relationship before allowing one. Hello everyone. Some things have changed, and because I still get the occasional PM about this, I decided to give an update to my situation, and it will probably be many months before I give any new information if I update again at all. To get straight to the point, I decided to give my husband what he wanted and will be filing for divorce. For more details please continue reading. After having yet another argument about opening up the marriage, my husband threw a fit and left the house and didn't return until the following day. It was late and I know he had been drinking a few more beers than he usually does, so I was worried and kept trying to call and text him. He didn't respond, but while I was walking around the house with worried, I noticed a pinging sound around the time after I sent my husband messages. I eventually found the iPad that he used to use and was planning on giving to his sister's stepkid and realized it was still linked to his phone. Against my looming sense of guilt, I checked his iPad and it turns out he's been messaging another woman from work for months. It wasn't just work-related or platonic stuff either. A lot of these messages were really spicy and had the occasional NSFW pictures. They didn't show each other's faces, but I know my husband's body, and the chick he was communicating with forgot about the mirror behind her, which showed a tattoo that she had on her back of her shoulder, so even though she cut off her face, I knew who she was. According to the messages, they haven't gone all the way, but they have done other stuff and made jokes, comments about me. To make it worse, he's also been messaging some of his friends and cousins about me, saying how disgusting he thinks my body has become since having our kids. How he hates that my breasts have tiny stretch marks and aren't as high up as they used to be, and resents me for putting my desires of doing motherhood a certain way rather than considering the needs of my partner, aka my choice to breastfeed instead using formula like he kept suggesting. My heart broke and I cried as I read the messages. I guess I wasn't as quiet as I thought I was because my son woke up and asked me if I was okay. I ended up taking him to bed with me and we fell asleep snuggling. I woke up to my daughter giving me breakfast, toast with jam and a peeled tangerine with some cereal, and told me that she heard her father and I arguing and wanted to cheer me up because she knew I was sad. This made me angry inside, not at the kids but at my husband. How dare this man subject these beautiful kids to this type of chaos, all because he wanted to get laid. In that next moment something in me broke emotionally, and I no longer held any care or love for my husband. Part of me was hoping something terrible did happen to him while he was out, as it would be a much cleaner break for me and my kids and I would have the benefit of his life insurance policy. Maybe I should see a therapist about that. After I finished having breakfast with the kids, I let them go play while I looked up divorce attorneys and Google state laws on marriage and divorce. My husband came back in the early afternoon, still wouldn't say where he was, but I didn't care. As he was showering, I told him that he had my permission to open the marriage, no video or written statement required. He was ecstatic, and suddenly the fun and attentive man my husband was came back and it made me sick. He agreed never to bring any of his conquests to the home where our children might see and use protection, but his word means nothing to me now. Over the next couple of days I used my lunch breaks to have phone meetings with lawyers, and I believe I've found the one for me. Since I gave my husband the green light, he's not being covert about his adventures and even showed me his Tinder profile. I smile but say nothing, and I'm just collecting whatever evidence I can pass on to my lawyer. My plan is to serve him and pretend to be the aggrieved wife who found out about his adultery and lie about giving him permission to family and friends. No one outside of my lawyer knows that I'm gearing up for divorce in real life, and there is no changing my mind. Stories number 32. Aita for making a craft out of the boat, or that my nephew's ruined in Walmart. My wife's sister is away, and her husband is caring for her 9 kids, his step-kids, alone until she gets out. The younger ones can get a little unruly, and 2 of the boys, 5 and 7, snuck off in Walmart, stood in a shopping cart and rode it around the store a bit with a wooden boat or from sporting goods. Because the oar was damaged, brother-in-law purchased it, but he didn't know what to do with it and was just going to toss it in the trash. So, I asked him if I could make it into something he could display, and he said sure. I had all the kids trace their hands and write their names and went over it with a wood-burning kit. Then I painted it with an antique look. Bal liked it and put it up in the dining room, but my wife's mother, who lives with him, said I rewarded the kids for behaving badly. Mother-in-law went off on a long rant about how badly behaved the younger kids are and said the oar should be thrown away to teach them a lesson. She also blamed my 15-year-old niece for not watching her brothers in the store since she had gone with them but was looking at hair stuff with her 5-year-old sister while the boys snuck off. BL told her it wasn't the 15-year-old's fault and MIL will have to find somewhere else to live if she keeps questioning his parenting choices. I was just trying to prevent waste and do something nice, but now I feel like I'm TA for starting this whole thing over a boat oar. Stories number 33. I told my boyfriend he couldn't shower with me. I am 24, live with my boyfriend, M21, and we used to shower pretty much every single time together. Because of our work schedule changes, it just quite literally doesn't make sense anymore, so we don't shower together anymore. Tonight, I thought it would be nice to shower together. We don't have work tomorrow, it's pretty late at this point. He never showers at night, I always do, but I figured he'd say yes, he did. He tells me he wants to finish his games, and after about an hour, he's ready. He tells me he wants to go outside and smoke first. I ask him not to. For context, in the past, I've explained I don't like that he smokes before we do things together. I've expressed it always just makes me feel like he needs to be high to enjoy his time with me. And especially right now, when I was trying to connect with him, obviously that would not be a great thing for him to do. I was laying down, he said okay, well you get up, I'll go get in the shower. He left the room, I immediately got up, and he was outside smoking. I told him I don't want to shower with him now, and even asked how he'd feel if every time he wanted to do something with me. I said hold on, let me take a few shots first. He responded, I don't think I'd care. I don't think that was a good comparison, to be fair, but I also really think the response added insult to injury. I want to clarify this was not a fight. I'm just upset, and expressed that when he got back from smoking, and just got my things ready, and went to shower. It was not theatrical from either one of us. Please be straight with me, am I overreacting? Stories number 34. Aita for being disappointed that my boyfriend refuses to get treatment for his daughter's skin condition because she's perfect the way she is. I, 29F, will refer to my boyfriend's, 37M, daughter, 13F, as Jane to avoid having to constantly call her my boyfriend's daughter. Blame me for the age gap, not my boyfriend. I chased him and he initially said he didn't want to date a younger woman. His late wife, Jane's mom, was actually older than him. I met Jane early this year and the poor baby has cystic acne. Of course, I didn't bring up the topic. Early this month was when Jane brought up the topic to me. She said she wished she was pretty like me and she called herself ugly. I asked her why she thinks she's ugly, and she said because of her acne. I told her she's pretty, and she said that's what her dad says all the time. She then said but her dad has to say that because he's her dad. She then said I have to say that because I'm her dad's girlfriend. I talked to my boyfriend about what his daughter said and I asked him what medication she's on. My boyfriend said he wouldn't get treatment for her acne because she's perfect the way she is. My boyfriend told me more about his late wife. How from 12 years old, she fought a losing battle with acne until the day she died. How his late wife thought she looked so ugly. Her plastic surgeries, restrictive eating, and excessive exercise. He said his late wife's pregnancy weight gain make her eating disorder worse, which lead to her death when Jane was 4. My boyfriend said he doesn't want Jane to suffer like her mom did. He said he wants his daughter to know she's perfect as she is. I understand my boyfriend's logic but I don't think his plan with Jane is working. I feel awkward saying anything because I'm not Jane's parent, and my boyfriend's feeling for his late wife is all wrapped in this. But I want to help Jane and I think what is best for her is treatment for her acne. Am I the asshole? Update, making this post helped in a lot of ways. I had sent my boyfriend a link to this post, and it helped him to understand. He is promising to listen to what Jane wants, and he is willing to send her to a dermatologist. He also promises to go to therapy for himself. Stories number 35. Aita for telling my wife that my stipulations for staying married are a new bed immediately, and she has to move the old one out. I'm Matt, I'm 35 years old and my wife is 31, her name is Kimberly. We have no kids, but one is on the way, which is how this whole fiasco started. We've been together 9 years and have been actively trying for the past 3 going on 4. She became pregnant around Christmas time, but I was a little suspicious because we had been pretty busy during that time and didn't have a lot of time for sex honestly. So it struck me a little odd, but it wasn't until late in January after, admittedly, I had snooped through her phone and found out that I'm not the only horse in the race, if you know what I mean. The other guy isn't somebody I know beyond a first-name basis, but he's around, and I didn't read their whole conversation, but I was seeing flirty messages from as far back as 2023, it's been well over a year. Kim and I are in marriage counseling, and I agreed to it on the basis that she would tell me word for word how the affair started, when her first one was, and that I wanted to be there when her days with this guy were over. And to be clear, we've had DNA analysis done, I am the father, I made that a day one stipulation basically the moment I moved back in. Our most recent appointments were this past Monday and Friday. Monday, Kim expressed to myself and our therapist that she missed having me sleep with her, she was getting sad and alone with how cold some nights were. I have told her before, I'll think about coming back upstairs if she picks out a new bed. I said it again Monday, she got kind of impatient, but I threatened to tell the therapist the full reason why I don't want any part of that bed or mattress, and she very, very quickly conceded. Until Friday, when she again, fiercely fought back against it, she claims she loves that bed, and had so many good memories on it. Keep in mind, when she says this, she says it with this weird almost, promiscuous tone, whatever it is, I don't like it. The problem is, the other guy, as I have come to find out, has also had some good memories on that bed. I won't get into specifically why, because I promise you, you don't want specifics, but just know that I have my reasons for that being unconditional. So I told her yesterday, flat out, that if she wants me in bed again, it's a new bed. And that mattress, I want to see it burn, there's just some comfort I would take in seeing that thing turn into ashes, we're supposed to be starting over. She's mad because I don't want to help her move it out back, but I straight up don't want to touch it, it's her mess to deal with, like I promised her if I have to, I will puke. So she's airing this out to people we know, telling them I'm lazy, telling them I'm being dramatic or whatnot, and I'm getting my fair few of messages, some supportive, most not, about the version she told. I reminded her that she can have somebody else do it, I don't expect a pregnant woman to move and disassemble heavy furniture herself. I just refuse to do that for her when, it's her fault, as in, irrefutably, with screenshots as evidence, her fault any of this happened. And I don't even rub it in anymore, ever since the DNA came back in March, I haven't rubbed my faithfulness into her at all. I have improved, I think the least she can do, is have her dad, her brother, or a hazmat crew come in here and get rid of that thing, while myself and, mostly, her pick a new one out. Personally, I feel that's more than fair. I'll pay anybody who needs to be paid, I'm paying for the new one, even our therapist said that's probably the best way going forward, and she has said that the attachment might just be hormonal, but my wife has been irate today, and it's over getting a new bed, which, at least from what my friends and brother have told me, most women and most people in general would be ready to celebrate for. Independently of the you-ness, a new bed is just a good freaking idea, but my wife is just dragging her feet with it. But it's not my job to plan it, it's her bed as of now, not ours. What do I do? Aita, or am I just massively overthinking this? Also, I'll be happy to answer any questions, I'm well aware this post is weird. Very weird, I was originally gonna post yesterday but held off in the hopes that Kim would get past it and put some kind of plan together. She doesn't seem keen on doing that, and now I'm just in a really weird gray area. Is it that out of line of me? Stories number 36. Aita for breaking up with my girlfriend over a note a pilot left for her. She confessed I saw all her texts with him. She allowed me to, hoping that maybe honesty will make me forgive her. She was begging him kinkly to FCK her while wearing his uniform and said her mouth will be his cockpit. We are not teenagers anymore, so maybe this is too much. I am 31 and she is 30. We were flying yesterday after a 4 days vacation, and while I was at the toilet in a coffee shop within the airport she was left a note by a pilot. She smiled at him. I am not controlling and insecure, or so I hope. I asked out of curiosity. And she told me it was her subway ticket that has fallen under the table. He picked it up for her. She indeed had her ticket on the table, so I didn't really think too much about it. But her cheeks were a bit flushed, and this morning I found the real note he left for her. It has fallen out her pockets. I was doing the laundry. It was crumbled and it was written by hand, drive you like a hammer on a bed of nails. Plus a wink emoji. I googled that and it was a reference to Alice Cooper's song. I still haven't decided what to do. I will try to talk with her before ending this 6-year-old relationship. Sorry for the misleading title. I did not tell her anything yet. I wait for her to wake up and understand what happened. Update, she admitted. They know each other. I did ask to see her phone. As controlling as it is. She had chats with him. It wasn't anything sexual though. So she keeps denying and blaming me for her lying. That I am controlling. She flies often due to her job, so this is how they may. I believe his move was a power move actually. He wanted me to see him. He is better looking than me, fitter than me. Time to be depressed and move on, I guess. Although she is now begging me to don't, that she only wants me. Stories number 37. I'm so tired of my soon-to-be former friend's predatory behavior towards young women. It's always the same shit about how they have no clue what they want, and have no life experiences. No shit, you're a 25-year-old man spawn camping 18-year-olds on their first week out of high school. When I tell him to just date a woman our age, he tells me the vast majority of us are too cynical, hypergamous and used. He was an upstanding guy until his ex broke up with him a month ago. Then he suddenly decided he'll have nothing to do with any woman who has been on this earth before 2006. I'm so tired and grossed out hearing him talk about how 18-year-olds willing to cut off their friends to prove their loyalty to him. How quick they are to want to marry or get in a committed relationship with him just because he buys them a small trinket. I've tried to tell him he's taking advantage of their naivety and that deep down, he knows that what he's doing is wrong. But I'm starting to think I'm wrong about him, and I just want to walk away from it all. He really was a cool dude, and so kind. Edit, everyone here defending his behavior or saying my issues are about the age gap are missing the point. If I love-bombed a bunch of lonely men at the same time, promising to be their wife to use them for free meals with no intention of committing, you guys would 100% accuse me of being a manipulative gold digger. Keep the same energy. Stories number 38. My boyfriend said he does not like my lady parts. My BF jokes a lot with the people he loves. He used to make little jokes about my physical appearance ever since the beginning. I don't think too much about it anymore since that's his nature. He also loved making me jealous by telling me about the girls who had a crush on him. He used to tell me that my sister and him had this intense eye contact when they first met. And that she turned back to look at him. He said that she has a great physique and that I should try to make my body look like hers. He once joked that he talked to me only to get her number. This morning, he joked about how my vagina is loose. I let it go. He said that in porn, the girls have a very tight vagina and mine is very different from that. Tonight that topic came up again, and so I sent him a PDF showing how all women have different anatomy. He was disgusted seeing it and was like, we'll switch off the lights when we have sex from now on. He said that if I were a king from ancient times, I would have married 365 girls. But since I'm not, I'll have to marry only you. He always jokes about little things, but this one hurt me too much. When I wanted to talk to him about it, he said I'm overreacting because my periods are coming up. And that no one understands him and all that. Am I overreacting or was he wrong? Stories number 39. Aita for speaking in French with my date's friend. I, 29M, have been going out with someone, 27M, I met online for last couple of weeks. We are not dating and do not plan to in the short term at least, but we like each other's company and we hang out quite often. Last weekend, my date asked me if I wanted to hang out with some of his friends. I did not really mind, so we decided to do a half-a-day excursion out of the city together. I got along with all his friends, except for one girl. She came across as extremely pretentious as well as fake, and in general, I got really cold vibes from her. Throughout the day, there were at least a dozen times where I had to roll my eyes to what she was saying. I mentioned it to my date, and he seemed to agree but said she has always been like this, and although none of his friends really like hanging out with her, but they don't want to abandon her because they have known each other since their undergraduate days. Anyway, after we came back from the small road trip, we decided to get dinner before heading back to our places. While at dinner, we were talking about our favorite travel experiences and specifically food experiences within these cities. I mentioned my time in French countryside and how one of my favorite things was to grab a freshly baked croissant. This girl looks at me confusingly and asks me, what is that? I was genuinely confused at this point. If she did not know what a croissant was, but that seemed ridiculous. So I said, a croissant like the French pastry? To which she exclaimed, oh, a croissant. I was genuinely pissed at this, and in response, I said in immaculate French, with an accent, of course, oh, I did not know you spoke French. How exciting. I have been looking for someone to practice my French, and maybe we can do that together. What is your favorite French dish, by the way? There was absolute silence at the table, and she looked at me dumbfounded. I broke the silence by saying, oh, I thought you spoke French. I don't exactly remember what happened after, but somebody must have said something, and we moved on from that topic. Post the dinner, I received a text from my date, saying that I was being an asshole for that little performance of mine and it was not required, and she told him that she felt humiliated. Stories number 40. AIO My husband recorded me. Long story short, I'm 2 weeks PP and I had a breakdown a few days ago because my husband doesn't help out enough. He doesn't support me in the ways I need him to. He was putting me under so much stress, my milk supply was tanking. He was harassing me when I wanted space from him. He has completely changed these last 2 weeks. I've seen a side of him that I am so disgusted by. I asked him last night if I could see his phone and send myself some pictures he took of our daughter. As I'm scrolling through, I see a video he apparently took of me crying and distressed because of the reasons listed above. I have been in a very vulnerable place, obviously. But this video just made me feel so hurt and disgusted. I questioned why he took it in the first place and he lied and said he didn't know he did. But it was so obvious he knew what he was doing. He admitted he did it knowingly but doesn't know what the purpose was of taking it. I want to leave him because of this. It was a huge breach of trust that I can't move past. ATM. Stories number 41. AITA for refusing to come out as bisexual at my parents' anniversary dinner despite my girlfriend's ultimatum. I'm a 27F bisexual woman who hasn't disclosed to my parents yet. My girlfriend, 29F, of 8 months wants to come out to them together next week at their anniversary dinner. Here is the problem, my brother, 24M, just came out as gay last month and my parents are still working through it. So they weren't horrible about it, but my dad's attempted humor was awkward, and my mom cried about grandchildren. Things are awkward but getting better. My brother went through a lot with my parents' initial reactions and is just getting to a decent place with them now. I explained to my girlfriend that I wanted to wait a few months to give my family some space. She was really upset and saying that I was ashamed of her and our relationship. She does not understand that this is not at all about her, it is about not abruptly inserting myself into my brother's coming out journey. I don't want to take away from my brother's coming out. Also, I feel like going to my parents' dinner after everything is, to put it lightly, inappropriate. Yesterday, my girlfriend gave me an ultimatum: come out at the dinner, or we are done. I told her I was not going to do that to my family right now. She packed a bag and is going to stay with her friend. I love her so much, but am I in the wrong for wanting to wait on this announcement? Stories number 42. Aita for hiding that I'm homeless from my girlfriend. I'm 18M and I'm dating my girlfriend who just turned 20. I've been in foster care since I was 13. I lucked out when I was younger. I had some good homes, but the most recent one I had was really bad. I've been homeless for 1 month now. It's been exhausting hiding it from my girlfriend. One of the jobs I work is at a local martial arts gym in my city, which I sneak back into at night because I have keys for lockup. I am pretty sure the owner knows I'm sleeping here because there are cameras. He hasn't said anything. Sometimes he leaves me food. So I'm doing okay for being homeless. I'm saving up and I'm trying to find another job so I can make money faster and find a place to live. I'm staying out of trouble. I don't drink alcohol and I don't do drugs. My girlfriend lives in a university dorm with a roommate. She goes to a prestigious school that she worked really hard to get into. Tonight, she said I have sad eyes and she asked me if something was wrong. I wanted to break down and tell her everything. Instead, I said I was sleepy and hugged her, then made a joke which distracted her and changed the topic. I know in a relationship, you're supposed to be honest. But I guess I have pride or something. All these years growing up, there were so many times I felt like I had no dignity, so it's really hard for me to let go of this pride or whatever you want to call it. It's hard to explain. Besides, she can't really help me. It would just be adding to her stress. Aita for thinking I can find a place, get settled in, basically fix this problem and then tell her. I see these on TikTok all the time and I know what I'm asking is not the same as wedding drama or marriage drama, but I thought I would give it a shot with this being anonymous and all. Update, Aita for hiding that I'm homeless from my girlfriend. Howdy. I just wanted to come back and share that I ended up confiding in my girlfriend about my homelessness. She was devastated for me, but ultimately I'm really glad I pushed myself to tell her the truth. It was really eating at me and it was a huge relief in itself to no longer be carrying that around on top of everything else. We're still together, also a huge relief. My girlfriend is keeping my homelessness a secret. One thing I haven't shared with her, or anyone really outside of you guys, is that I continue to struggle with feelings of shame and inadequacy about this situation, but I know those are more my internal dialogue and not necessarily how others perceive me, given that they don't really know. I'm trying really hard to keep my head up and maintain my self-worth and convince myself that I'm not trash. I also ended up telling the owner of the gym I've been crashing at what I've been doing. As I suspected, he knew about it but doesn't want to acknowledge it for insurance purposes, so essentially, this conversation didn't happen. He said I can keep doing it given that I find housing ASAP. I have to move on to a new place to sleep if I'm still homeless in a few weeks. I've got 2 places pending that I know are strongly considering me. I'd happily take either one. Affordable housing here is really difficult to come by and very competitive. There's a lot of interest per listing. I started expanding my search area and this helped, although my commute is going to be rough. Stories number 43. My niece was expecting her bachelorette party to be paid for the second time around and is now very upset that isn't the case. My husband and I, 55-52, have always paid for the bachelorette party for our nieces, goddaughters and daughter-in-laws. We cruise a lot and enjoy it, went on one for our honeymoon, and I always thought a weekend cruise for a bachelorette would be so fun. So when our first niece married, we sent her bridal party on a short cruise, all included plus spa time as a special gift, and have been doing so for the brides in our family ever since. We have a very big family and so yes, brides now know and look forward to their bachelorette party being paid for. I always bring this up when the bride first starts her planning, because cruises also take time to plan. I always work with the MOH and want to make it a really wonderful fun weekend, where the bride doesn't lift a finger and her bridal party doesn't spend a cent. Here's the issue, our niece, Leah, 33, is marrying for the second time. We are so happy for her, she and her husband to be announced this to the family at Christmas, their wedding is in July. We did not plan on throwing the bachelorette party, when our goddaughter remarried for example, it wasn't expected. We are Mexican and the godparents are very involved in paying for the wedding. Leah's godmother has already declined to pay for the dress or flowers but her godfather is paying for the rehearsal dinner. As far as I know there was no issue with this. My other niece, Yvette, recently pulled me aside and let me know that when she was planning a night-out bachelorette for her sister Leah, as she's the MOH. She said Leah was surprised by this and assumed she was getting another weekend cruise. Not once has anyone brought this up since the wedding was announced. I do understand that maybe I should have but since we hadn't paid for our goddaughter's second bachelorette I didn't think I needed to. Yvette said she tried to calm her sister down and said Leah had a huge meltdown that no one was taking the wedding seriously, no one was helping to make it special, and that she was being punished for being divorced. This isn't the case at all. We are still having a huge party, we are still celebrating, it's just not like a first wedding. None of her bridal party, which is all family including my 2 daughters expected this trip, only the bride. I spoke with Leah and I told her how badly I felt that wires had gotten crossed. She told me it was okay and that we could just plan the cruise now. I told her not only was it fairly late to begin planning a cruise for July but her uncle and I didn't plan on paying for a second bachelorette. She was gutted and I felt so bad. What do I do here? I told Yvette I could pick up the tab for their night out and pay for a spa day. Yvette told me no, that Leah is just being a brat. I don't think she's being a brat, I do think she is expecting too much. Leah also felt it wasn't fair that I was just paying for one thing when everyone else gets a weekend. I just don't want Leah to feel like her wedding isn't being respected or taken seriously. I've even considered setting up a cruise for her and her new husband and having that be our wedding gift. My husband doesn't like that idea, he feels a cash gift and paying for a spa day is more than enough. What would you do in my situation? Have I really messed up here? I really feel so badly and would like some outside advice on how to handle this. Stories number 44. Am I the asshole for saying no to babysitting my niece last minute even though my sister begged? Okay, so here's the deal. I'm 24F and my sister hit me up literally a couple hours before she needed me to babysit her 3-year-old daughter today. She said something urgent came up, but honestly, I was already set to hang out with some friends and just chill, maybe watch some bad Netflix, actual plans. I'm not super experienced with toddlers, and watching a kid at the drop of a hat stresses me out. Plus, it kind of feels like she expects me to be on call 24/7 just because I'm family. I get that family helps family, but that doesn't mean I have to cancel my life every time something comes up. So, I told her no. She got kinda annoyed and said I'm being selfish and that family should step up for each other. I get where she's coming from, but I also feel like my time and comfort matter too. I'm honestly feeling a bit guilty now, but also a little frustrated. Like, am I really the asshole here for not dropping everything last minute? Or is it okay to have boundaries? Edit. I was curious about what exactly was so urgent, and later found out she actually went to a friend's birthday dinner. So, not really an emergency, just something she didn't want to miss. I totally get wanting a night out, but it did bug me that she made it sound like a big emergency just to pressure me into babysitting. Stories number 45. Y'all need to stop dating people you don't like, OMG. I got downvoted for asking a question on a post, why are with someone who has a habit you don't like? That's simple. Op was asking if they were or because their partner smoked before a task of showering together. And they specifically asked them not to smoke, MJ, beforehand. OP doesn't like it. I too would find it personally annoying and offensive if my partner always got high before doing a task with me. I never said she was or nor underreacting. Simply asked why are you with someone that does something you don't like. People get into relationships wanting to change people. People are only gonna change if they deep down really want to. The point of relationships is to lift each other up, not bring each other down. Stories number 46. Boss said no overtime under any circumstances. So I left mid-emergency. A couple of months ago, our manager sent out a stern company-wide email saying there will be no overtime, no exceptions, even if things ran behind or if clients were in panic mode. Okay. Got it, boss. Fast forward to last Friday. A major client's account completely tanked due to a glitch, and it was all hands on deck. My shift ended at 5 p.m., and around 4:58, I reminded my boss about the no overtime policy. He chuckled nervously and said, well, this is a bit different, just stay until it's fixed. I smiled, showed him the email he sent, and said, sorry, I'd love to help, but I really don't want to violate company policy. I logged out right at 5 o'clock, grabbed my things, and left, while the rest of the team stayed until 8 p.m. cleaning up the mess. Monday morning, we got another email. Overtime requests may now be approved on a case-by-case basis. Stories number 47. Got turned down, but it restored a little faith in men. More men should be like this. I wanted to share a little experience that didn't go the way I'd hoped romantically, but actually left me with a lot of respect for the guy involved. There's this guy at work I, 27F, noticed and found attractive. We'd never had a proper convo, but I'd seen him around the office and thought he seemed nice. So I decided to be brave and shoot my shot. I messaged him on Slack just to say hi, make a little small talk, and eventually asked if he'd be up for a drink sometime. He took a bit to respond, but when he did, instead of ignoring me or stringing me along, he said, sorry for the slow reply, and thanks for the invite. I'm flattered, but I'm in a relationship, so I'm going to have to say no. That was it. So, I told him no worries and wished him a lovely weekend. It was all very civil, no awkward drama. Just direct, kind, and honest. And honestly, that kind of integrity is rare. So many guys in relationships will entertain attention or flirt back just for the ego boost, or worse, lie about their situation entirely. But this one just gave a respectful no without making me feel foolish or uncomfortable. It still stung a little, rejection always does, but I genuinely walked away thinking, more men need to take notes. Being honest and respectful doesn't cost anything, and it makes such a difference. Just wanted to share that, because in a world where loyalty sometimes feels like a dying art, it's nice to be reminded that some people do handle things the right way. Stories number 48. My coworker asked me to give her my bonus because I don't have kids. What should I do? So obviously at first I just laughed assuming it was a joke, but she was deadly serious. Her point was that I don't have responsibilities and I always seem to be spending and just don't seem to need it like she does. And she does the same work as me anyway. It completely caught me off guard. I literally just stood there next to the kettle with my tea bag mid-air like, what the? I feel so used. I feel like she's used everything I've ever told her against me, and taken advantage of me being a nice person. The amount of times I've covered for her when she's left early due to childcare and the extra workload I've had to pick up when she's been going through hard times. I thought we were friends, but now it just feels like she was waiting for the right moment to see what she could squeeze out of me, or she's literally a narcissist, because in what world is it okay to ask someone else to do that? It feels manipulative and almost bully-like behavior with how adamant she was in wanting it. Should I tell my boss or just keep her at arm's length now? Stories number 49. Am I the asshole for not wanting to share the hospital bed after giving birth? I 28F and my boyfriend 31M are having our first baby together. I have a son previous from him and he has two. This man is totally convinced that he is going to sleeping in the bed with me after I give birth. I told him I don't want that because the only time I'm going to have to sleep is the time I'm in the hospital. I'd like to sleep in a hospital bed alone the first couple nights. His response to this was he is just gonna stay at home because he isn't going to be uncomfortable on a couch. I know those couches aren't the most comfortable, but neither is bring life into the world. I don't think I should give up my bed or have to share it just so the father will stay with me. If he had to go home for our other children I wouldn't be upset, but our children are taken care of and will be with grandparents until we are ready. Maybe I'm being selfish, but I just had to get this off my chest. Stories number 50. My teen daughter left the country for a 28-year-old man. My daughter, F18, let's use the name Amy, moved out to do a summer program at the college she will be attending this fall. Our family is super excited, and we had a celebration dinner and a goodbye. She lived at a college a few hours from us, and left 2-ish weeks ago. I knew she had a long weekend coming up, and offered for her to come home. She wanted to stay with her friends. No big deal. Anyway, the Saturday of that weekend, my husband, 44M, opened Find My iPhone to find his missing laptop, and according to that, her phone was in the UK. We panicked, thinking it got stolen, and called her. She picked up. Confused, we asked why she was in the UK. She got jumpy and said she was meeting a friend from the UK. This was weird because she has never mentioned a friend from the UK or traveling. This is very unusual, as she tells me everything. We call daily for an hour or so and are super close. We thought it was weird but asked her to send pic and please don't leave the country without telling us again. My husband was pretty mad about it, citing safety concerns. I agreed, but she is 18 and very independent, so. My other daughter, 16F, let's call her Callie, came into our room later that night clearly anxious. She told us Amy has been texting a random man from the UK on Instagram since she was 17. I didn't even know she had Instagram. He is 28. Callie told us that Amy gushed about how nice he was, saying things like he actually thinks I'm pretty and he wanted to take me on a date in public. Amy only told Callie this summer and begged her to keep it a secret. Callie did but felt bad about it. Hearing that Amy is in UK, Callie told us. My heart immediately sunk. For context, Amy has always been really insecure of her looks. I've told her she's pretty, but, to be blunt, Callie is the pretty sister I hated, but conventionally speaking it is Callie. OFC, I think both my daughters are stunning. I've tried my best to encourage Amy to love herself. I avoid complimenting the girls as to not put emphasis on their appearance. I talk a lot about being more than your body, eating when you're hungry, that is, your body is not a reflection of your worth. But Amy's had it hard. She never got any guy's attention before this one. I tried to tell her it's probably just high school and most guys aren't interested in dating and it's not her. I encouraged her to approach guys instead, but that has always ended in ghosting and some pretty nasty things said to Amy. Callie has always gotten guys' interest. She has had dozens of admirers and 4 boyfriends already. And I could tell it bothered Amy. Once, Callie went on a Valentine's Day date with her current boyfriend at the time, and I remember Amy being really glum to spend Valentine's Day with me and my husband. We made waffles and whipped cream and strawberries like we always do, but I could tell Amy was really hurt. I tried to bring it up and Amy got defensive and said, "Why do you assume I'm jealous of her? You think she is prettier than me or something?" So I dropped it. Additionally, my grandmother, who is dead now sadly, was known for her beauty. Everyone raved about how pretty she was and old pictures confirmed it. It was almost a legendary thing how beautiful my grandmother was. And as Callie grew, the resemblance is uncanny. She looks like a carbon copy, and everyone says so in family gatherings despite my efforts to stop. Additionally, I heard that my mother told Amy point blank she is not as pretty as Callie, and while it is understandable to be jealous, don't be so jealous you are mean to Callie. She said this more than once. When I found out, I was furious and had a screaming match with my mother, which is a story for another day. All in all, Amy clearly finds herself ugly and undesirable. I feel so guilty as a mother. I remember reading all the things on how to give your child healthy body image and really did try at every corner to make all of my babies feel good about themselves. But now my 18-year-old daughter has run away with a 28-year-old man she met online to a foreign country. According to credit card statements my husband dug up, she has a flight back home to her college Monday night. As a mother, I want to drag Amy back home and handcuff her to me until she's 25 and her brain is fully developed. Her father wants to fly to the UK and confront this creep. But Amy is 18 and clearly hurting, and I would never want to jeopardize her chances at this university or the program. I'm at a loss for what to do. Please help a mama out. Stories number 51. Brother died unexpectedly. Amongst his belongings, we found a folder saying personal and private. Do not read. Destroy after my decease. Should we open the folder? So, my brother has passed away in January 2025 aged 32 in what was ruled an accident. He was found dead on a bike lane under a bridge by a passerby. The immediate cause of death according to the medical examiner was cerebral bleeding caused by polytrauma as a result of falling off a bridge around 10 meters high. The toxicology report states that he had a blood alcohol level between 2 and 3 per ml, meaning he must have drunken a lot of alcohol prior to his death. It is estimated to have happened on a Saturday night, approximately at 3 o'clock in the morning of the 12th of January, 2025. The theory is that he was on his way home from partying after a long work week, decided to climb the railing of the bridge in order to take a picture of himself and the moon. It was a clear, cold night with an almost full moon, lost his balance, fell back over the railing down onto the bike lane, severely hurt his skull and brain, leading to bleeding in his brain, and died. His phone was found damaged a few meters next to him. I and the rest of the family are suspicious about the circumstances of his death, because we vaguely know about some mental health issues my brother had been struggling with during his teenage years. That was years ago, but when asked about them years later, he would shrug it off and tell us that he had sorted these matters out and that there was nothing to worry about. And indeed, he seemed to have been doing well in his job, appreciated by his boss and co-workers, living a decent life with a good paycheck. However, over the years, he had been gradually alienating himself from the family, meaning he wouldn't call or write for weeks. It was us who would have to initiate contact with him, otherwise we knew he wouldn't really get into touch with us of his own accord. Still, he would always be there on special occasions like Christmas, Easter, or birthdays of a family member, bringing presents, being sociable, etc. We're a big family with lots of different personalities and characters, so we naturally accepted him as someone who simply preferred to be private and quiet. He was, in his way, pretty smart, too. He had studied at university, but didn't graduate, spoke 4 languages, but didn't seem to want to pursue a career involving his linguistic proficiency, let's say as an interpreter in some sort of private or political organization. For privacy reasons, I will not tell what his job was, but I will say it didn't directly involve his language skills. Now let's get back to his death. It took some time until we had been notified of my brother's death, because as I said, he wasn't exactly very talkative and everybody had gotten used to his silence. However, eventually, of course, his boss grew soon concerned about his absence from work and informed Dad, whose phone number was stated as an emergency contact in my brother's personnel file. One thing led to another and the dead body under the bridge was identified as my brother rather quickly. The company my brother had been working for provided apartments for their employees for a limited term. My brother had been living in one. Consequently, upon learning of his identity, his flat was immediately found and opened up for us to remove all of his possessions and belongings. That flat was very clean. It seemed quite impersonal, almost like a hotel room, with just a few personal items hinting at an actual man living in there. Amongst those personal items was a folder. It was one of those folders of which the front was transparent. And on it was written with a black Sharpie, translated into English: personal and private. Do not read. Destroy after my decease. Neither I nor other members of the family have yet dared to have a look into the folder. My brother has long since been buried according to Roman Catholic rite, just like he wanted and sometimes talked about when the topic came up. My question to this community is, do you think my brother's death is suspicious, considering his prior behavior? Should we open and read the folder or destroy it, following my brother's wishes, despite the potential suspicious circumstances of his death? Our family has meanwhile agreed not to open the folder.